Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Sunday's makeup stream. That's why we're doing it today, because I couldn't do it on Sunday. Hopefully my voice is not as bad as it was last week, because as you guys know, I'm getting over a cold and still coughing a little bit. That's why I haven't done any recordings yet. Although you guys seem to like the video of C2, so maybe you want more compilations of just the anime stuff. We'll see. Anyhow, this is going to be a two-part stream. So the first part of the stream is going to be discussion on glorification. The second part is going to be gameplay footage of Janissary Code and Lost Stories. So without that, I think we know our messages, right? Or I'm sorry, announcements. I do not think so. So that way, we're going to get started right now with glorifications. Let me share my screen. So as you guys know, there are three films. Well, there's technically four, but the three films are Initiation, Transgression, and Glorification. Those are the three recap films that were made between 2017 and 2018. We went through the first two, and now we're going to go through the third one. The third film, by the way, is arguably I guess I would say, hold on. My camera definition was kind of low for some reason. Hopefully it's better now. Oh, interesting. So if I change sorry, I have a little detour here. So is that why it's been doing that? Hold on. I don't think so. No, I just made it worse. Okay, whatever. I'm going to go back to the high definition. I don't know why it wasn't set like that to begin with. It's always having like an interruption. Anyways, so what I was saying was Glorification is probably the best of the three films, which is not saying a whole lot because the first film was good before it was. Second film was terrible. You don't have too much to go against. Well, I will say that if they had done four films, so two for R1, two for R2, R2, this would have been a lot better. But the problem with this film, they had to what's the word? Shorten the rest of R2 and delete so many random things. There are so many random edits in this film that are kind of baffling. And one of the things about this film that I noticed really analyzing this thing almost through a microscope is that their desire to make turn 19 make sense. It's crazy how much they did in this film to try to make that episode work, but it didn't. So I can't wait to point that out to you guys. All right, let's get started. This is the by opening text you see when the film starts. We have this scene. There's two books here. I didn't get a chance to look up what these books mean, but it shows books in the Ikaruga, and then we see C2 falling over. So there she goes. She falls over. It's kind of a cute scene. And we see Jeremiah talking to Lelouch about Shinkai. The reason why this scene exists, by the way, is because, strangely enough, we don't have any scenes of Lelouch actually talking to Shinkai at all in these films. So they had to come up with some kind of scene to say, hey, look, Lelouch is talking to Jeremiah about Shinkai. Chinese Federation stuff obviously happened. But at the same time, though, we have to basically do what these films have been doing since the first one. Summarize a bunch of events that happened off screen in one brand new scene. For example, you see Lelouch traveling underwater. Well, the episode that he does that is not in this show. So, or in this film. So they have to, again, they threw a bunch of stuff at you through a brand new scene. We also learned that Rawls going to have to go and rescue Nunley, which pisses him off, which is foreshadowing because, as we know, he wants to kill her. That's in the Battle of Tokyo 2. We also learned from here Lelouch is going out to mess with the trains with the Gefion Disturbers because, again, we don't have that episode with I believe it was turn 13 when Shirley is with Suzaku and they happen to go to the train station. They run into Lelouch, who also happens to be at the train station messing around. But again, they didn't have that in these films, so they had to have this one scene where it's like, okay, Lelouch is going to be in the Shinkiro. It goes underwater, and he's going to go and mess with the trains for the Gefion Disturbers. So they crammed a bunch of stuff in this one scene. Then we see the introduction to the film. Now, I saw someone ask this question online. I'm actually quite curious myself, which is, Does anyone have a full rendering of every image here? Because while the film does piss me off on some levels, I really love this artistic, this art design for all these characters. I don't know if there's any like long, just one graphic of all of them, but if there was, I wonder if they did it maybe when the film released or something, because these are really nice. I don't have the best capturing of it, but these are really nice depictions of the characters. Anyhow, so we get to the beginning of turn 17. So we see Shinkei going into the Shenhu. I believe this is a brand new scene, not in the show, because if you guys know, we don't see any of the Chinese Federation stuff. So Shinkei is never shown in the Shenhu until right now. So we get into this conflict right here. We see Lelouch talking to, of course, Guilford, because as you guys know, Guilford was tricked here because I believe Jeremiah called him saying like, hey, I know where Cornelia is. And we know that actually this is the scene where Lelouch uses Geass on Guilford to make him recognize him as Cornelia if he does this. It's a very bizarre command. Not the whole recognizing him as Cornelia, but just like this particular pose. Anywho, the battle starts, and periodically throughout this review, I'm going to check my notes because I took a lot of details on what they changed and didn't change. Let's see. I think there's nothing new here. Oh, we don't see the flashback of Lelouch carrying Nelly up the stairs before he meets up with Suzaku, during this scene here. That's because we already saw it in the first film, so there was no need to show it. Also, I think the new film, I like that animation much better. So he goes up to the stairs to encounter Suzaku. There's actually a funny comic. I don't think I could show it because it's a little inappropriate, but there's a comic where it shows him running up the stairs, or he's going up the stairs, and Suzaku's like, "What's taking so long?" And Lelouch is literally passed out, like over here, because you guys know he's in bad shape. Now, the entire conflict, by the way, between the Britannian force and the Black Knights, they do a lot of strange editing in this. So as you guys know, there's a big conflict during this battle itself between Shinkei and Bismarck Waldstein. And during the conflict, they cram it in, and they also, all of Bradley's scenes are basically removed from this this film. It's really weird. Like, they wanted Bradley to be kind of a serious threat because Colin kills him in the next battle, but they didn't show him much in these films aside from that one scene where he throws a dagger at Suzaku between that bridging of the first R1 and R2. Besides that, though, I mean, they skip so much stuff. So like I said, they skip all Bradley's scenes. They don't show Schneider talking to everyone about the situation with the invasion. We don't see Bradley even join the fight. Instead, it just goes right to. So after they're done talking, as you guys know, everyone's saying like, if whoever wins this is the decisive battle. I'm still lost as to how, if Japan is taken over, it changes everything else, but apparently it does. I mean, look, Kage is a brilliant strategist, political genius. So who am I to question her greater wisdom? I'm just a little confused how that would actually make that kind of difference. But see, when Lelouch and Suzaku are starting to talk, again, we have Shinkei starting to battle against Bismarck. We skip the entire Bradley stuff. And if you look at where we are in the conflict, this is like late into the battle too, where he takes Excalibur, he blocks the Shenhu's cannon, I forgot the name of it, and kills all the nightmare frames surrounding him. Actually, I think they were choppers. They were not nightmare frames. Now, the conversation between Suzaku and Lelouch is heavily altered because, as you guys know, certain events didn't happen in the film, so they can't talk about it. For example, the hostage rescue, Shirley dying, right? Those didn't happen in these films, so they had to alter the entire dialogue to compensate for that. And there's like, they added certain things which I kind of liked. They removed certain things I didn't like the rest of this film. They just changed a bunch of random stuff. Like, for example, that they added, like, why did Lelouch, so Suzaku asked Lelouch why didn't he tell him he was Zero, and then he explained, I believe it was, he would if he had rescued him. That's during this conversation. So I'll show you what I mean. So they're talking. He's like, some friend you were. Yeah, so here I believe, why did you tell me you were Zero? And he said, well, during the trial, I was going to, after I rescued you. So that was changed. That was not in there. I believe this is. Yeah, I don't think it changed there. It's the same dialogue. So this hasn't changed much. You know, to motivate the Japanese. Again, that part hasn't been changed. But what does change is the ending part where he mentions like other people at fault. Yeah, I believe they did cut that right out. Let's see. Yeah, forgive you, bring you back to life, and then eventually save the world of all your malice and hatred. Yeah, see, this is another thing too. So before I get to that conversation that was removed. So this part of the battle, see this where you see Bismarck fighting Shinkei, and then also I believe they show you something else too during this conflict. I think it's when Bradley tries to take the carrying class cruiser to destroy the entire Chinese Federation troops. During that whole scene, they had this part where Zero says, Zero's a symbol, and these are all they're all lies. Or the miracle, it's all a lie to do his thing. But during the actual anime, they actually had a mountain. They showed you Mount Fuji during this dialogue. The film said, well, I got a better idea. Let's be economical here. We have to show you Bismarck fighting Shinkei. We have to show you what Bradley was doing. But we also have to cram stuff in there. So let's have the two characters talk while that's happening in the background, which I will admit, very lazy, but also very effective. So I definitely think it wasn't it was a good idea for the most part. I actually don't mind that, although it is kind of annoying that we don't see Bradley at all. I don't like Bradley, but I still think his actions during that battle was great. And it also, on some level, at least explains you how crazy he is. And pretty good. He's a good Nightmare Frame pilot. I hate the guy, but I won't lie. He's a good Nightmare Frame pilot. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Let's see. Yep, they don't show Valletta being captured or Ogi talking detailed about it. They don't show C2 hanging out with the band-aid. Remember, she put the band-aid on her finger because she thought it was a wedding ring. They don't show you that part. They skip the conversation between Gino and Colin. They show the scenes of battle between Shinkei and Knights around a place on the mountain, where I mentioned that one. Saku doesn't ask about the hostage rescue or why he's sitting from Jeremiah because that didn't happen. Suzaku's thoughts aren't shown. They don't remember when he thought about his father and he killed him. Right? He looked into Lelouch's eyes. He's like, I know exactly what he's thinking right there. And of course, he tells him, you're lying, aren't you, Lelouch? So they agree to join forces and then eventually to end the war. But unfortunately for Lelouch, he gets captured by Dalton's sons and ultimately Cannon. And Lelouch thinks that he betrayed him. He plans to sell me out again. You betrayed me, Suzaku. Oh, they do show this scene. Okay, Colin does talk to Gino. Never mind. That does happen. And how she's actually kind of happy, and also about Suzaku as well. Didn't really change much of that part. I think Colin would become Knight of Rounds if she if she kept her Britannian lineage. I can't believe Zero's a student. You and me both, buddy. I love this conversation between Schneisel and Lelouch. Because it's just the way he gets in that. I don't have the image here, but during the confrontation, Lucius is like, "You pity me, Schneisel?" And he gives this sick smile, like, "Yeah, pretty much, dude. I do pity you." So speak on your behalf, and eventually, he showed me pity. Schneisel like, he laughs him in the most. It's pretty mean. Well, they don't show Shinkei being injured during the battle, and that's kind of important because, as you guys know, Shinkei dies sometime after this film. It's never shown, but apparently he died in this universe. They could have shown that, of course. Okay, so after Lelouch uses his Geass power, he doesn't use it. He uses the command. He already used the command, but he relies on it now by activating it. Basically making Guilford a sleeper agent. He got him to save him, and then after that, I believe Schneider was like, I have to believe in this power code Geass now. So this is something changed in the films. In the anime, he says, this is like, I have to now acknowledge his power. But in the film, he's like Geass. Because one thing that they tried to do in this film, which they did whoopsies. My Nox player popped up. Whoopsies. One thing they tried to do in this film, and did a terrible job at it, is they were trying to make Schneider more credible. So when he presented the evidence to basically prove that Lucius Zero has a Geass power and that he is, in fact, a Britannian prince, somehow if he knew about Geass, it would, I don't know, make them believe him more. I honestly don't know what the purpose behind behind that. They're trying to give him like more, how I put this, just knowledge about Geass, so he presents that he seems more credible. He doesn't really change turn 19 being a crapshoot, but they tried their best, I suppose. So then we see Guilford and Lelouch flying away. We see Rollo entering. I kind of like the scene. You see him going in there to obviously prepare for the Battle of Tokyo to take back Nunnally. And of course, Colin as well. So that's, I kind of like they're all in suits. And of course, he uses his gas power to mobilize everyone. And then we go right into turn 18. So we went from, like, the cutting in this show is crazy because we basically, we don't see the Black Knights preparing for battle. We don't see the Ikaruga surfacing. We don't see the plots getting nightmare frames. We skip Schneisel's comments on Lelouch and Kantos Zaku. So we just skipped all that stuff to get right to Lelouch saying, hey, I wasn't playing a student for no reason, and I was to ask for the Geffen Disturbers to start the battle. And he explains their plan. So, you know, again, they basically wanted to keep this battle in the film as much as they could. Obviously, they had to cut stuff out, but they kept this battle mostly intact. And of course, the Requiem and the Ragnarok connection. Those were the main ones they tried to keep intact. Everything else, they played fast and loose with some of the stuff. Okay, so one thing they changed in this film is, so after we see Gino talking to Colin, they made a brand new scene to discuss Nina asking Suzaku to put the Flea on board the Lancelot for some reason. And it's a different conversation. If you remember in turn 16 when they first had it, Nina was a little more happier, more naive, I guess. Here she's a little more angrily and serious towards him. I'm not really sure what I think about this this new scene. They make her a little more aggressive. One thing I've mentioned several times in these streams for the first two films is that they don't show Nina acting crazy in this story. They remove the whole subplot of her being in love with Euphemia or devoted to her, obsessed, whatever term you want to use. They got rid of all that stuff. So her reason for doing what she's doing is less understandable than it was in the than it was in the original anime. So this is like the first scene where she kind of acts a little crazier than usual, where she tells, you know, Suzaku, you were Euphemia's knight, what, you can't fight Lelouch? Now, since she says Lelouch, at this point, I guess all the information was leaked that Zero is Lelouch, according to I guess Schneidel. They never really explained how she learned that he was in fact Zero. I guess it must be from that conversation. Keep in mind, they don't show you the recording, by the way, which Canon played before this event happened. So the recording doesn't exist anymore. So there you go. Okay, so then the battle begins. And again, nothing's really changed from this point of view yet. We see Rollo going in there to go rescue Nunnally. Suzaku tries to warn Zero that he has a flare warhead. This, for some reason, is going to come later during turn 19 when they try to. Or there's no turn 19 in this, but the betrayal part, which I hate that so much. And of course, Lelouch's like, yeah, as if I believe you. You know, Jeremiah, go in there and take him out. So it's interesting how I believe in the film or in the show, she was confused why Jeremiah joined their team. But in the movie, she's concerned why Guilford joined their team. Or maybe she says, I think she says both, actually. Hold on, let me just take my notes here. Let's see. Okay, yeah, she says Guilford, not Jeremiah. Also, I missed something else important. So you guys remember that in stage, I believe it was 5, right? After Zaku got freed from jail or pardoned because they had no evidence for him killing Clovis, even though he was actually tried for 2 things. It wasn't Clovis, but also the royal guards being killed. They never cleared him on that one. Anywho, they must have forgotten their own story. Getting back to the point here. Because he never saved Jeremiah's conversation with Suzaku has been altered. Instead of saying, like, you know, Suzaku, I respect you, but in the day, you know, loyalty trumps all or whatever. Here, he says, like, oh, where did I respect you, but where did it all go wrong? They changed it because he can't refer to an event that never actually happened on screen. So they do a lot of manipulation like that in this film. Wanted to mention that part. Yeah, they skip the part where Jeremiah asks Aku if he'll alleviate his master's torment. They skip the Orange Name My Loyalty scene. Skip the scene of Alicia explaining to Nelly they have to leave. They skip the scene of Asahina saving Chiba, removing more scenes of Chiba, demonstrating she loves Toto. In fact, that's something that I should mention too. Her relationship with Toto and Ogi and Valletta, a lot of scenes were removed. Chiba is actually worse because at least Ogi and Valletta, they keep the obviously the most important ones for the most part. But with Chiba and Toto, there's only one scene where they're together that implies anything, which is kind of annoying because in Resurrection, they actually sit next to each other during the wedding. And I believe Toto's it's always good for a man to settle down. And Chiba is looking at him like, okay, what's the problem? But if you only watch the films and then go to Resurrection, that scene has no context. I guess they put it in there assuming you watched the original anime. But that's just... there's that. Let's see what else we got here. Kendall says extra units now, and so we only have Tamaki. I'm not sure why. Oh yeah, right. So most of the scene kind of goes the same ways it did in the original anime. See, she's telling to fire to Flea. Suzaku's like, no, I'm not. It's the threat. We don't have to do it. Suzaku's not doing well because he has it's a 3-on-1 assault there. It's Guilford, Jeremiah, and of course himself. And then eventually Gino comes in there to help him out, right? And he's actually pretty much Nigel's assault. We see Rollo going in to capture Nunnally, and he said, well, he's going to kill her because great. If we can't just take back Nunnally, I'll know for use for you, Rollo. Absolutely, he will not. He never had much to begin with. Saiko, of course, finds Colin during this battle. This is a brand new scene. In the scene, we see Shirley and Rivals. They're together because they have to show that Shirley and Rivel, or they got to show Shirley's doing something during this time because she's alive. So they have to put that scene in there. It doesn't hurt anything. Just they're kind of in shelter while everything's going down. I don't. I'm supposed to talk about Millie, but she's reporting at this time, so of course she wouldn't be at the school. She also graduated. Funny how that happened. Suzaku again trying to talk to Lucia about, we should come back together. And of course, it's never going to happen because it's over now. Lelouch was betrayed once. He will not be betrayed again. I mean, again, it was a whole misunderstanding. Then eventually, Anya comes in to attack Lelouch. And this is a part I was mentioning before. So he's engaged in IS-6. They said, do we have any units left? And I believe... Yeah, do we have anyone we can send? And he says, by the way, I don't have the actual line here, but he says we have other units. He doesn't say Tamaki, and I'm like, so are you guys trying to make fun of Tamaki or not make fun of Tamaki? I mean, just pick one and stick with it. I don't care if you want to make fun of Tamaki or not make fun of him, but why not just pick one of the options as opposed to neither? Because he's supposed to be the running gag of incompetence in the show. But for some reason, they cut out a scene where they clearly imply that he's incompetent. And there's not, and now that I think about it, there's only one scene I can think of where they really make fun of Tamaki in the whole film, all the films, by the way, when Rakshata mentions his name in context to giving him the Shinkiro. I'm sorry, the Gawain. But besides that, there's no scenes of them ever even commenting how Tamaki's an awful pilot. You witness it, but you don't actually hear them make fun of him, which, whatever. Not a big fan of that change. We get to Nunnally being, put on the shuttle to escape. Now, one thing I'm kind of angry about is the fact that, how do I put this? This is your remake, right? And Oz Reflection already exists because it's been referenced once in this film, and that was the Zephons worked on the Gawain, which makes sense because of the uncle's, the Wizard of Oz, his Nightmare Frame, the Agravian, I believe it's called. It looks like a Gareth, which is based off the Gawain. So that all makes sense. However, why not just show, and I'm not sure how you would do this, just show the Lancelot Highgrail grabbing the shuttle like an Oz Reflection, saving Nunnally. What would have been so hard to put a brand new scene of showing Nunnally being saved? It's so weird how they played fast and loose with the source material, and they did the most laziest approach to try to connect Reign of Dark, Akito the Exiled, and Oz the Reflection into this film. If it were me, I would have just made a brand new scene showing the High Grail grabbing the shuttle. They may have a new scene of Psycho running away when Nellie's by herself because she realized what the plan is, and then I don't know, do something like that. But instead, of course, we don't see any of that. We just see the same reused scenes. And I thought the point of the film was to fix some of the mistakes they made, which didn't actually happen, unfortunately. Okay, let's see. Oh, another important scene. So after this occurred, and this is, again, to prove my point that Turn 19 was a big failure because there's a lot of retcon they did to try to fix that whole nonsense. So after Colin looks at the Gurren with her outfit, they got all the Geffen Disturbers. Things aren't going well for Black Knights because they're losing all their advantages. See, they're all destroyed. So the ones Ikebukuro, so they can reinforce their lines. And then while that happens, yes. So right here, Asahina's talking to Kenoshita. Kenosha's like, we think we found Captain Kozuki, and then he dies, and that's the end of it. So let's put some context into what exactly just happened here. Okay. In the original anime, when Kenosha is about to die, or Kenoshita, whatever, I keep thinking of Tilly Park and Kenosha. When Kenosha died, he sent Asahina the data from the Geass Order massacre. That data was then sent from Asahina to Todo. Why they got rid of it? Very easy answer. Because during the Turn 19, during that meeting between Schneiso, Cornelia Cannon, and the Black Knight representatives, Todo is the only person who knows about the Geass Order massacre because he's the one who has the data. I don't think Asahina told anyone else besides Todo. And Kenosha is dead too. But yet Todo just sits there like an idiot and doesn't tell anyone about the data. He doesn't present it. He doesn't say, hey, can you guys pull up a TV screen? Let me show you something real quick. Nothing of the sort. Or however the data, I think it was a film of what happened. It was a film, whatever, records, whatever it was, because we don't know. He doesn't present this evidence to anybody. So because they realized that they made Todo look like a big moron, which he kind of is in these last couple episodes, they say, you know what, how about this? Let's just not have the data in the show. We'll get rid of it. So Todo doesn't look stupid for not presenting it because there's nothing to present. So they got rid of that part. And there's a bunch more retcons coming to fix Turn 19. That's one of the first of many. There's no recording scene where Cannon hits the recorder where he asked, where Suzaku asked Lelouch about, did you use your Geass on Yuffie? Because again, that recording means absolutely nothing. That will be in the video when I debunk Turn 19. I'm waiting for my voice to fully recover, so when I talk, I don't cough every 5 minutes. In a live stream, it's fine because it's a live stream. You guys don't expect me to be perfect and do live editing, which you can't anyway because it's live. But in a video, I got to make sure my voice isn't like cracking every 5 seconds. So the point is, they got rid of parts from Turn 19 that made no sense through this film. How? By just simply pretending they don't exist. So with Kenosha, I guess it kind of works. Sigil, you dumbass, no one's here. Tamaki, you're the moron. During the fight, of course, Anya falls down. Now, one thing they changed in this scene is that she says, so in the anime, she says again, but in the film, she just says it's what's happening because they don't have the whole Chinese Federation incident. And as you remember, that was the first time that she said where this happened to her. But that's not in the anime or in the film. And as far as I know, the Chinese, not Chinese Federation, the Knights of the Round weren't present during that event. Gino and Anya, I think, were watching Lelouch at the time. Or if they weren't, they went to Ashford anyways. So they were not present during that event. So this is the first time Anya freaks out because of the Geass power. Very important difference. So I wanted to mention that scene because that's kind of important. They have to keep, fixing stuff because obviously they removed a lot of things. So here's another thing too. When Bradley comes in, or he captures Lelouch. I forgot to mention this when I made my video. I forgot to mention a bunch of stuff, but the squad that captures him, they're not called the Valkyrie Squad because it's guys now, right? It's Lord Kyo, Sorcy, and a bunch of other people. I think there's an image of them. Let's see. Let's see. Any images of them? Okay, I don't see them here, so I'll pull it up. I have images that I had to use for my video, so I can get it up there. So we can show you. We have such sites to show you. Yeah, okay. So here's the images of here's what I was talking about. So here's Sorsey. Hold on. He's part of the Abraham squad, and so is this dude. Don't know who the hell this is though. So they changed that whole part. They changed that whole part of the story because Marika, who was supposedly part of the squad, isn't, and I assume it's because she replaced her brother Kjol. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I read this blog last year, I believe, where they mentioned how Oz of the Reflection retconned R2. Then this film retconned Oz of the Reflection because in Oz of the Reflection, Marika isn't killed when Colin blows her nightmare frame. She's saved by Leon Lionheart, her fiance. So in this film, they have Oz of the Reflection as technically canon, but they don't have her as part of this battle. I don't know. It is what it is. Anyways, back to the actual film. So Colin gets into the nightmare frame. They actually improved the animation here for some reason. I don't know why they decided to do that, but they did. And so they improved the animation there for that particular scene. She gets the nightmare frame. She goes off in the battle. David is killed. Do you even care at this point? I mean, if you're watching the movies, do you even know who this is? I don't mean to be rude, but Dalton's kids have they're the strangest part about these films. They chose to keep a lot of their scenes in for some reason. I mean, at this point, by the way, 2 have been killed off already. Albert and Bart, I believe, have been killed. I could be. I never get their names right. Let me just see. Andreas Dalton. I think it's Bart and Albert were killed already on screen, which only leaves stupid ads. So let me just make sure. Alfred and Bart. It was the blonde guy and blue hair guy are dead. Yeah, Alfred died and Bart died. We don't see it, of course, because, F you, which only leaves Edgar and David, who both die in this battle. But again, do you even care? Unfortunately, because they just don't. It's so frustrating. This scene has so much emotional weight in the anime, but the film was like, who the hell was that guy again? I don't know. And Shiva kills him, which is great, I guess. Anyhow, back to the after he dies, Bradley's about to finish him off, and Tamaki will be there soon. He's like, Tamaki? Oh, great. And of course, they mentioned how the Emperor's coming, and Schneider's like, he's not coming. He doesn't give a damn about us, which is true. Tamaki tries to help out Lelouch, and he fails. I love this line. Damn it. Why does it always happen to me? Dude, if only I knew. That's honestly a mood. Before Bradley can kill him off, Colin comes in there and she kills Kjol and then another guy, wiping out the Abraham squad. Then she kills Bradley. Nothing really changes in this scene from what I know of. Again, Bradley's defeat here isn't as satisfying because we don't see him do crazy shit before in the previous part of this battle. So it's not as exciting when she kills him. I know that sounds weird, but also these two had a moment before this battle happened, which is not in the films. When Bradley first appears in turn 16, he goes to attack Colin, and she's like, "Oh my god, it's the vampire Britannia." Bradley. So he had a reputation, but in these films, they kind of cut all that backstory out. So when she kills him, it's no offense, Bradley's like anyone else at this point. He doesn't have the same, and I'm going to use this word very loosely, but depth to his character. He could be just any other random crony at this point. This is his. They should have done more with Bradley, not less, because he already had problems in the original series. But here, they basically made him as thin as paper, and Colin kills him. It just okay, whatever. Just like David, who was that again? I don't even know. How sad is that? So then Suzaku goes to fight Colin, even though it's pretty much hopeless at that point. We see Toto killing Edgar. So Edgar's dead now. Again, did anyone care? No. Cornelia explodes the door to escape, and he's like, "Oh my god, is it Chigusa? It's not Chigusa." Also, we don't see the scene during this part where Asahina gives him the data because, again, there's no data to give because Kenosha never gave it to him. We see the shuttle about to take off. This is Alicia's, not Nully and Sayako, so they changed that up a little bit. Also, for some reason, I didn't notice before, but you know how in the Turn 18 battle, you saw Sayako with Nully when they were taking off and when she broke into the shuttle? They got rid of all those scenes from the film because they changed Sayako's role in the story. Apparently, she never was with Nully, and then Lelouch sends her out later on, and she never returns. I'm not sure why they made that change, but I believe Sayako never joins Nully on the shuttle. So I guess she goes on her own and Schneizel captures her or something. I don't know. But they altered that part of the story. Anyways, yeah, they try to tell Zako to get out of there because, Colin's going to kill him. Doesn't work. Before she has a chance to finish him off, he tells, the Geass tells him to live. Again, you would have seen Sayako at this point breaking into the shuttle, but they got rid of that part. Also, we see Nina is now insane. So apparently they're like, she's not crazy in the first three films, but then she just loses it out of nowhere. It's still not believable. They should have just kept her crazy the whole time and just kept the whole Yuffie story, or just not make Nina at all. I don't know. Either way, it wasn't that great. They obviously pull away from the explosion from the flare warhead. Something else too, I forgot. When Asahina, do we have a picture of it? We do not. Okay, so Asahina is shown at the bureau, and he was going there to, I guess, not to arrest Rollo. I think it was to help out because he originally told Toto, we can't trust Lelouch. I'm going to go as Zero. I'm going to go rescue or capture Rollo. But he didn't go there this time because I guess they changed the story. You know what he says, by the way, when he dies? He says, I'm going to join Uribe and what's his name? Uribe and Senba. And what's so funny is I love those characters, but I'll be honest, I forgot they existed because they were both killed off screen. Uribe was killed during the rescue, and Senba was killed in an event that never happened. So basically, in this film, like four important characters in my mind are already dead, and you forgot, you didn't even know they were dead. It's pretty bad stuff. So when Asahina dies joining Senba and Uribe, and you're thinking the whole time, wait, who are those characters again? Yeah. Not good stuff. And again, we don't see, we only see, not only we don't see Sayako, because they changed the whole story up. I don't know why they did this. It's so irritating. Let's see. So, anything else I missed? They don't show David and the gray hair son, but who cares? They don't show Cornelia escaping. Yeah, they show Cornelia escaping. It's something weird. But they never show that she was captured to begin with. Remember how in, I think it was turn 16, they show Lelouch talking to Cornelia in the Ikaruga. We didn't even know she was captured, but she escaped, I guess. I don't know. They don't show Toto, or that one. Ogi suspects it might be Chigisa, but when was she captured? There's a throwaway scene where Didar said she'll handle it for the last film. But yeah, they don't show you Valletta being captured at all. So when Ogi's like, it might be Chigisa, you're thinking, when was she captured? I don't know, Rauru, but apparently she was. The quote, Scooby. Excuse me. Let's see. Saiko's on the shuttle. Asahina set out joint Uribe and Senba. I think he went in to get Nully or something. I don't know. They changed that whole part. They don't show the flashback where Zero used the Geass on Zako before he fired it because that's different, I guess, for some reason. Oh, this is another thing too. They changed the music, and I forgot to mention at the beginning of this stream, but for some reason, this film added new songs or replaced scenes of other songs. And I can say with 90% certainty, they were all bad decisions. All of the new songs they put in, or the new replacement songs, they ruined all the scenes. They took one that was like a pretty emotionally depressing, and they put in like a happy scene. I was like, the fudge? There are so many parts. I think I'll point them out as I go through this, but there's so many parts where they add like new audio, or I'm sorry, new songs, and it just ruins the scene. Like, why would you put that in there? If you're going to add a new song, at least make it work, or don't change anything. But they added new songs that, oh my freaking God, they were not good. And again, they should have when Nully is rescued or revealed to be alive, they should have shown a flashback of Alderaan rescuing her. It would not have been that complicated. But they didn't want to do that for some reason. Okay. Let's see. So let's get the part where Lelouch asks Nully after the explosion. Okay, next thing what they do is they don't. You know how when Guilford says, "You must live, princess." Well, they got rid of that scene. I guess because Guilford's deaf or something. They didn't want to imply he was dead because in the anime it was kind of confusing. The flay explosion, he was caught in the explosion. His screen went dark, but somehow he didn't die. I don't know. They cut that part out. They don't even mention Guilford either because when Suzaku talks to Cornelia and Schneizel, they cut that whole part out. So who knows? Now, one thing I'm going to go to the change they made to turn 19, and I'll read some comments. Yeah. So when after the event's over, what originally happened was so that they cut the whole part here. So the explosion happens and that's it. We don't see Lelouch freaking out. We don't see him screaming at Toto to rescue Nunnally. And we also don't even see Schneizel landing, I believe. Do we see him landing? I think he lands. Yeah, he lands, but we don't see the conversation between Toto and Lelouch during this whole time. And I'll tell you why they did that. Again, this is going to be part of that video I'm going to release one day, which is there's a plot hole. There's a bunch. There are so many in Turn 19. It's, oh my God. I dived into it and I realized I should stop at some point. Like the rabbit hole goes really deep in this one. So you know how when they called Lelouch's room to get him to come to the meeting, right? Well, here's a question for all of you. Why couldn't they just call him when he was a nightmare frame and just directly ask him, hey, you Schneizel came on board. Want to come to the meeting? Notice how they don't ask him with the direct communication line? Like, Dieter literally is talking to Toto about Schneizel landing, and Toto doesn't even call Lelouch. He was literally talking to him. He could have just opened the communication channel and said, hey, by the way, Schneizel landed. You should know about this. But they don't have that, right? So what they decided to do was, okay, how about this? We don't have Toto talking to Lelouch this whole time, so we skipped that part out. So they can't have that conversation with the nightmare frames. So when they call him by the phone, okay, that was their only chance to contact him. Even though that's still bullcrap because he wasn't in nightmare frame, they could have contacted him. So they try to eliminate that plot hole. The other plot hole they had to eliminate also was the fact that Lelouch screams Nunnally at Toto. And for some reason, Toto was never like, hey, Schneizel, Cornelia, or whoever. Lelouch was screaming Nunnally the whole time. He's a Prince of Britannia, right? Your brother. Does that mean Nunnally is his sister? And they're like, yes, Nunnally is his sister. And he's like, is that what he's been like acting really nice to her and wanted us to protect him? Probably. Again, it never comes up in the conversation. So they're like, okay, we'll get rid of that part too. So basically their solution to fix Turn 19 is to just cut as much as we can from the show. Just keep cutting footage. If we don't show it, it means there's no plot hole. That's their solution. That's how they decided to settle the problems. Oh my God. Okay. Let's let's keep going on here. All right. So when we get to the actual, oh, by the way, Nina's freaking out again. I guess they want her to be crazy. Who the hell knows? Yeah, you did this. The creators, after they make this show, I did this. Yes, you did. They still have Cornelia running like a moron. And by the way, I noticed this too the other day when I was, not the other day, but I was looking at this. So Cornelia turns around, right? And Dietar's like, Cornelia? I thought it was Vlad. I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's just me. But Cornelia and Valletta look very different. For one thing, I mean, you have the skin tone, you have the hair color, you have the outfits they wear, the height differential. I mean, are you telling me that Dietar watched Cornelia run in one direction and was like, that must be Valletta, even though she has pink hair, thick pink hair that's wrapped in a that's braided at the top. Valletta happens to have that weird ponytail style. And the outfit's different. But hey, it could be Valletta, even though the hair colors are clearly different and skin tones are different. I mean, I love Dietar's character, but he has to be one of the most idiotic characters. His character assassination from this point on in the story is so bad, but it's just, did you really think that was Valletta? Oh my God. Oh, Dietar, are you this stupid? I mean, Cornelia should have said, instead of like long time no see, honorless television man or turncoat, She just said, "Are you a moron? You thought I was someone else?" How many purple hair girls are in this story to begin with, besides what Euphemia? There's not many. So, oh man, oh detard, you very special man. Anyways, that's not even the worst part. I just want to bring that up there because it's so stupid. Okay, so they capture they recapture Cornelia. They're about to, but then Schneider comes in there again. They don't contact Lucia about it for some reason. Temporary ceasefire. Okay, we see Raul helping Lelouch get into the into his cabin, and then he swears. And for some reason, a sub he says the F word to him. I believe. I think that's either this was this sub or the fan sub. He says the F word a bunch of times. He really hates him. You're an imposter. I hate you. This scene has always been super. Yeah, why the do you have this? And by the way, as you guys know, I got this footage. I didn't get it online, by the way. My library actually had this film for some reason, so I picked it up. This is actually the official sub that they did when they subbed this film. He actually says the F word. Go figure. That face. We get the scene where Nina's telling Loy like, "Oh, my heart. Can I do this?" She doesn't know how to continue. Science or your heart or science. And Lloyd's like, "Well, I was already insane, so See, we get this part where Chiba tries to call the room, and again, because we don't have Toto directly talking to Lelouch like we did in the show, this somehow fixes the plot hole. It doesn't, but whatever. They also mention how like Schneider brought a bomb on, to have a peaceful talks, right? Of course, very peaceful when you got a gun pointing at people. We don't know what kind of objective here, so we should talk to him. Toto, the smartest man alive. And by the way, again, another thing I want to mention is that the only guy who makes sense during this whole meeting is Tamaki, and I've come to a very important conclusion. If I agree with Tamaki, then it's not good. It's just not good. They still have this retarded scene where Kento's like, I think Lelouch has been wounded. And Minami is smiling. I'm like, Minami, why are you smiling? Oh my lord. Jeez. Okay. They had changed this scene, by the way, because as you guys know, Jeremiah isn't safe. Suzaku doesn't save Jeremiah in Stage 5 because Stage 5 is not in these films. So what you get instead is this random conversation about him saying, I tried to gain power. I was disgraceful. I apologize. We share an odd connection. I don't know what that connection is, but we share it. He's going to go find Nelly. But Saku's like, he's dead. This is a brand new part of the scene where Millie is hugged by both Shirley and Rivals. Shirley kind of cock blocks Rival too. By the way, I never noticed. I think Claudio was actually in the school helping people out. I kind of like that part. I don't have the image here, but Claudio he's actually present helping people out. I think it was in the original anime too. Nice little touch. Okay, so then we get to turn 19, or the conversation. I keep saying turn 19, but the whole meeting. And this meeting is just bullcrap from day one. It was always bad, but oh my god. So they're like, Zero won't come here until we discuss the details. Schneider doesn't mention a chess game because, as you guys know, there's no chess game in this film or in these films. We don't see Cornelia talking to Schneider before about everything that happened prior because that opens up a can of worms because you have Nunnally and you also have the Geass Order Massacre. And I guess she never tells Schneider about that because they don't bring that up here. One thing Schneider tries to do here is, so in the original anime, Schneider says that Lelouch wouldn't be here because he tends to keep things to himself. And the whole time I'm thinking, that is the most generic statement you could say about anybody. But yet D-Tard's like, oh, you must know him intimately. So they change it to say, in this situation, he would act this way. So they try to make it more personalized to Zero. I still think it's bullcrap and generic, but they tried to make it more personal because in the anime, he's like, oh, Zero keeps things to himself. I'm like, a lot of people do. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. They're like, okay, Zero is our daughter, younger brother. And they're like, what? He's 11 Holy Empire. And then D-Tard's like, Cornelius like, you didn't know. They change it. So instead of saying like, so in the anime, she says, what you got from Jeremiah and Valletta didn't lead you to that direction. Which, by the way, is so stupid because Valletta only suspected him being a high school student, and the same thing with Jeremiah. Neither one ever suspected him being a Britannian prince. Specifically, Lelouch. If Jeremiah had suspected that Lelouch was Zero was Lelouch, the prince, Marian's son, do you think he would have been so aggressive to kill him? Obviously not. So they changed it to Cornelius saying, "You, after all the information everyone fed to you, implying that someone else gave him information that could have been damning about Lelouch's identity." However, besides the papers he takes from Valletta and shreds them, I don't know what she's talking about. They threw the line in there to imply like he could have gotten intel from people besides Valletta and Jeremiah. But the problem is they don't show it to you, so it's a meaningless line. Like everything else in this cover-up or retcon. So Jeter's like, you can't spread chaos here. Apparently the miracle not the shams. He has a power code Geass. He got it from C2. And I have to seriously wonder about these people. So why would they believe that, I'm not going to rant in this video, but basically they tried to fix this by saying that, so code R, I have no proof of this, by the way, but just take my word for it, okay? Let me tell you guys how this works. Zero, who is Lelouch, by the way, no proof, but just take my word on it, has an ability where he can hypnotize people. You know that green hair girl has been following him this whole time? She gave him this power. And they're all like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we've never heard this before, but hey, maybe there are green hair girls that give people supernatural powers that we've never heard of and it's never discussed once in the story. But you know what? My brain is just making sense of this. That perfect. And then Tamaki, again, is the only guy who he's the smartest guy in the room. Again, what does that tell you? He says, like, all top Prince and Geass, where's the proof? And so Ogie's like, and this is the best part, he says, it's all true. I have the proof. Again, by the way, Detard thought this looked like Cornelia from the back. Okay. Detard is the dumbest man alive. So stupid. So here's the thing, right? Here's their solution to fix this problem. They don't show it. Whatever Ogie presented to the group is not shown. There's no evidence presented whatsoever. Instead, we go right to the scene where Colin picks him up to go into the elevator. They skip the entire conversation of what was brought up in that meeting. So we don't see the recording because it doesn't exist. We don't see the photos of people suspected Geass, which didn't mean anything anyways. We don't see the canon saying, hey, we warned Lelouch that there was a we warned Lelouch that he had a flay on board. I'm like, okay. But oh my, I hate that. I hate everything about this whole situation, as you guys know. If you don't remember, I did an epic rant about this in my Turn 19 stream. If you want to go back and actually watch it. Or wait for the video, which will come out at some point. I'm almost done with the script. Again, I gotta stop coughing or I can't record. They go into the elevator, and I have no idea why, but they remove the entire part where Colin says, "Okay, Nully is dead, and Sita lost her memories. Now what? Now or something?" And then he gets interrupted by Luce saying, "Sorry, I took long to rescue you," or something. And I'm like, why did they remove that scene? What? Because usually when my head hurts, I can't comprehend this. Usually when they remove stuff from the show and these films, there's a reason for it, like something didn't happen, or that's probably it. Something didn't happen, therefore they can't say X, Y, or Z. But Jesus. But in this case, Nellie's death is known to everyone. And she even says when they walk out, when my brother died, and Nellie saved me. So, like, what? Why remove the dialogue or her thoughts? I don't know. It was a very strange part. Okay, then we get to. Oh my God, this is actually worse than the original anime. So they all asked Lelouch, by the way. This is basically what they decided to do, the Black Knights, according to this new universe. Ogie presented some magical evidence behind closed doors, literally from the audience. And that evidence convinces the Black Knights that he could be Lelouch, he could have Geass power. So what's their solution? Let's confront him and ask him in a polite manner if he's Zero, if he's Lelouch, if he has Geass power. And I'm thinking, you know what? That's a good idea. But here's the problem. We're looking at it through a vacuum. But what actually happens in the grand scheme of the episode is that it's the same scene. They are still pointing guns at him. This is supposed to be a confrontation, but not to kill him, right? They don't want to kill Lelouch in this universe. Schneisel is the one who ordered, or Canon does, the order to kill Lelouch. They don't want to kill him in this scene. Okay, let's make that very clear. They have no intention of killing him, yet they still keep the same scene of them pointing guns at him. So it's like, we want to talk about this in a peaceful manner, but I am going to point a machine gun at your face. So, I mean, it's bad because it makes the Black Knights look worse. Why don't you make a new scene where they confront Lelouch in a separate room, and then Schneisel gets involved and somehow tries to kill him in that room or something, and then Rollo comes in there and saves his life or something, because they're still pointing guns at him. So it still makes them look terrible. This doesn't fix any of the problem. It actually makes it worse. And they also mentioned how they don't know how the Geass power. They say, "Are you Lelouch? You got Geass power?" So Lelouch says they don't know how my Geass works. Now this is a very important scene because in the original anime, this is the exact same. The sentiment here, they don't know how my Geass works, is exactly that. It's true in the original anime as well. I mean, here's a funny way to know that, right? So when Ogi says in the original anime, and I'm pretty sure he says this, "We know everything about your Geass power." I'm thinking, bullshit, you do, because if you knew anything about his power, why aren't all of you wearing masks so you can't use Geass on your face, or glasses or something to block the Geass power? You don't know anything about his ability. You're just saying that crap because Schneisel told you some vague thing about hypnosis. You don't know if it's eye contact, voice and eye contact, a hand signal. You have no idea how the Geass power works on any level. If you did, you would be wearing masks. So shut the hell up, Ogi. So at least in this scene, they're like, you know what? Let's remove that crap. They don't know how Geass works, which is obviously true. And by the way, the entire film, they remove every single instance where the Black Knights act as if they know how Geass works, because they don't know how it works. They didn't know in the original anime, and at least the film's like, you know what? Let's be honest. They don't know how the Geass power works. At least they changed that part in the film. So I respect that a lot. And even at this part here where he's like, not this. Again, they're shooting. They're still pointing guns at him, and it's all one-sided. So it's like they wanted to confront Lelouch about his abilities and who he was, but they still want to kill him, or they will kill him. It's so stupid. He's Geassing you too. How would you know? You don't even know how Geass works, you mother chuckers. This part hasn't changed too much. I do like this one change where this is a brand new extra scene where you see you see Tamaki and Ogi saying, like, listen, just tell us the truth, Zero, just be honest. And then Zero says, or Lelouch says, well, same person, Colin, you have to live. They're like, just say something. And that's what he says right here. See? But again, here's the problem I have with this part here. So after they're going to kill Lelouch, or Schneisel was, they're like, well, let's have him have his word before we go kill him. And Scheisel's like, well, he might use Geass power. And I'm thinking, guys, if you wanted to talk to Lelouch and actually have a nice conversation with your leader before you get him off the Schneisel, why would you have him come in the hangar and everyone points guns at him, including Schneisel and Cannon? Are you guys like? Think about this, right? Let's go back in this conversation. This is one-sided, and then at the very end, they're like, let's have him have his word. Just tell us the truth. Which is it, guys? Are you threatening Lelouch, or you want to talk to him? This is why the fixes to the film, or the fixes to Turn 19, were worse. Because in Turn 19, they were morons. They were obviously tricked by false intel, and they were like, we're going to kill Lelouch. That's it. We brought him to the hangar to kill him off for whatever the reason that was. Here it's like, we want to talk to you, Lelouch, but we're all going to point guns at you. We're going to accuse you of things, but we want you to have your word, but we're pointing guns at you. So you have your word, but like, we are threatening you. You understand, Lelouch? I mean, if I'm Lelouch, I'm thinking, You know what? Screw you guys. Just screw you guys. If I wasn't so suicidal right now, I'd Geass all of you just to leave me alone. It's... God dang it. And then Roll saves them. They don't change any of that part of the scene, as far as I know. And then Roll, are you an idiot? You want to die? And of course he does. I believe this is all the same. They didn't change anything here. Roll kills like 1,000 people on his way out. Hey, look, if you're gonna do it, go do it, right? I mean, if you're gonna die, make it. You want to die, right? Roll didn't pass away. Rollo died, so kill 1,000 people, and I believe that's okay. Let me see if I missed anything real quick. I just ranted like an idiot for the last hour. Okay. Okay, I think I didn't miss anything just to make sure. Black Knight's. Yeah, there was no. I think I didn't miss anything else. They changed the whole scene. Okay, they changed the. Oh yeah, they changed. Oh, this is another thing too. They changed the music when Roll rescues Lelouch, and it's like it just doesn't match the tone at all. Ugh. It was awful. They don't show Zaku screaming. That was an epic part of that episode. All right. Anyways, let's go through the comments real quick. It's been about an hour. I usually try to do 30 minutes, but it's okay. Aiden, welcome, dude. Let's see. In Lucia's defense, Nelly would not let go of that plate. True. She would not. Okay, is it better to go to the YouTube comments or do we'll just do StreamYards. Okay, next point. Would you say Code Geass power inconsistency is worth ignoring for the sake of enjoyment of the theme? Would you say the Geass power inconsistency? I would say the show's inconsistency in general is worth enjoying. I'm not sure there's a power inconsistency. The only thing I will say is Lucius' use of the command is a little strange sometimes. Not strange. It's like that's inconsistent because he can basically wish for more wishes. So that's a whole other thing in general. It's pretty strange how Schneizel would know about Geass. It doesn't seem like something Charles would let him know about. Well, actually, in the films, he found out the Kodar project. They tried to. It's incredible. They wanted to make sure during this confrontation scene that Schneizel actually had information about Geass, so he sounded more credible. So in the first film, he talks to Canon about Kodar. Everything was done for turn 19. That's how bad that episode was. But yeah, Charles wouldn't let him know. In fact, Charles says to Zaku in was it Arc 2, the second episode, you're the one who knows about the Sword of Akasha. Agree and disagree. God dang, Nazi doesn't deserve Yuffie. Wow. Well, there's some truth to that. Elenezo. Psycho being a ninja is always odd since she's an anime one who's crazy martial arts. I wish her role is different. I mean, I don't know how you could change her role too much. She's a minor character. I mean, I kind of like the twist where she went from a maid to actually being a ninja. So, I don't know. I can't think of anything better top of my head, given how Code Geass is already kind of a tight story, and you can't just... I think her role was fine. It never offended me. I'll put it that much. I was never offended by it. Also bugs me that Lelouch hates Zaku for betraying him at the shrine. Being turned over to Charles should have made Zaku his number one enemy. Are you saying he should have been angry at him earlier? That's a fair point. But I guess that would paint Zaku in a negative light for R2, and the season really wants us to still like him. A lot of people hate Zaku after betraying Lelouch in that scene, so they hate him actually before that. I like Bradley having an all-female squad. It's one of the small things that said about him. Yeah, it was kind of weird. I don't know. Dolan's kids should have a larger role. Their dad got Geass, so I can see him either going after the Geass Order or Zero. Yeah, neither of which happens. Tamaki is either Krillin or Yamcha of the Code Geass series. I'd say Yamcha, because Krillin at least somewhat gets respectable. He's somewhat useful in the story. Yamcha is just worthless. Also, be better if Code Geass gets a reboot treatment. Dalton's sons will get more screen time development and learn their personal interests. Besides Claudio and David, we don't know much about their kids, about his kids. Just Claudio and David. I like Nina since the show doesn't want us to like her. The anime doesn't really do that unless it's the villains, but all her awful flaws make her sadly believable coming from a horrid country. Yeah, no, she's not a good person, but she was well written from my point of view. Little ad there, or email. None Survivor doesn't bother me that much. I've seen worse, like Kiriyamoto from Seed. I have not seen Gundam Seed. Well, by the way, it's not bad that she survived. They don't explain much. It's just that if you're going to include Oslo to Reflection, anyways, why not just have them in there to save Nunnally? Like, would it have been so bad? They want to make new scenes, right? So just make a new scene. I can't see him rebooting Code Geass and there's not much of a fan base. It's a great series, but it only has one spinoff. Yeah, I mean, although I will say if Lost Stories got like $2 million, and it's a gotcha game, it's a great gotcha game, but it's still a gotcha game. There might be some a fan base who'd like to see a new anime besides Zeta Recapture. So the reception from the two games, I think, is proof enough that if Code Geass came back, people would definitely want to watch it. That's all I'm saying. Well, because they weren't good, the compilation films. Like there were certain good parts, but overall, there's a lot of problems. Basically, here's how I rationalize: if you've watched the original anime, you'll hate these films. If you've never watched the anime, you'll probably like them because you don't know any better. In this case, it's ignorance is bliss. Krina still has her arm in a sling. They couldn't fix that. I guess not. If you're gonna remove Kenosha, if I was gonna remove Kenoshita, I would have had Asini be the one to join the Geass or massacre. Then maybe either Rollo blackmail or threaten him not to tell anyone about it. Thoughts? Yeah, that would be much better. I agree. Kenoshita's role in the story didn't have to exist. That's actually a pretty good point. Is it weird that she was the one trying to call Zero spite? This is the same lady that hates Zero's guts. I never thought about that, but yeah, it's kind of weird. I think it's also weird they didn't contact him on the communicator when they had a chance. I missed the Siegfried looking like orange. Now looks like a regular mech jet. Yeah, unfortunately. I think the material would have been worked if it was built up by Toto and Chiba throughout R2. Schneider just gave them the final piece they needed to convince the others. Well, that's a very good point because you see what they were trying to do, and did a terrible job at it, obviously, was that throughout R2 and even R1, there was always a hint that the Black Knights don't trust Zero. And there's constant conversation about, like, if Zero had his best interest for Japan, why did he betray everyone? There's always these conversations happening in the background. If they had done a better job at building it up, like you said, so when Schneizel comes in there, they're already ready to go and betray Zero, and Schneizel brings, like you said, he's the straw that breaks the camel's back. In this case, there are certain seeds of deception and possible betrayal, but it's not that significant. If Schneizel, I'll put it like this: if Schneizel doesn't show up to meet with the Black Knight leaders, they're not betraying Lelouch, right? They're not betraying him. So if they were going to anyways before Schneizel shows up, then that would be more believable. And it could have been Ogi too, but yes, I agree. I can see Ogi and the others believing them over the enemy prince, especially since the evidence was gathered over the season. Right. If they did that, but in this case, they didn't have the evidence gathered over the season. It was like last minute. Like Schneizel had pictures of Shirley, that random guy in Stage 7 who you forgot existed. Really, he knew that they had Geass used on him, or could have been. How would he even known that? Has he been following? Is he like Eisen? Has he been following Lelouch his whole time? I mean, how would he even know that? They got rid of those photos because they revealed more problems than it was worth. You notice how this film that they removed a lot of stuff. That was not an accident. Yeah, everyone believes in magic. Pretty much, yeah. Even they had convincing evidence. How can they immediately believe in less than an hour and immediately go after a coup against Zero? Exactly. That's the problem. It's like they went from they did a complete 180 because Schneizel presents evidence. I mean, convincing would have been a little better, but even then, it's like They don't even talk to him about this. Like it's the strangest thing. It's so rushed, and these films didn't help at all. It wasn't convincing, by the way. It was crappy evidence. Would it be better if after doing the meeting with Schneizel, the BKs have a secret meeting of what they should do with Zero and debate about the trust Schneizel question? Like anything would be better than what we got currently. They don't discuss anything. They just go, we're just going to confront him in the hangar and try to kill him, or in this case, ask him politely with guns pointed to his face. Hey, are you Lelouch? Do you have magic powers? I have a machine gun pointed at your face, Answer truthfully. It's like, oh my Lord. You needed at least a couple scenes to discuss this. One point I'm going to make in the video when I finish it is that, as far as I know, and again, you guys can correct me, but Schneizel is not like, listen, you must deliver Lelouch to me in 1 hour or you all die. As far as I know, he gave no timetables for them to do anything. They could have told Schneizel, listen, buddy, you just threw a bunch of stuff at us. Let's talk about it amongst the group. Let's call Kaguya. Let's call Tianzi. Let's call Shinkei. Let's call Hangu. Let's call all the representatives of the UFN. Let's discuss this with them. Giving up Zero, the leader of our entire military, affects the entire UFN. We can't just make this decision lightly. We must have a conference with everybody. If you really are a believer of peace and democracy and you don't want to have war, then why would you care if we spend an hour, a day, a week discussing this? But instead, they're like, we have to discuss this right now. So that's the frustrating part. They had all the time in the world to discuss this. They gave up Lelouch in like seconds. Given how they really needed him, as they've stated many times in the story, they need his help despite being a little sketchy towards them. They would not give him up that quickly. Even in the confrontation, at least in the films, they didn't want to give him up. So I don't know. It's really stupid stuff. Also, I would change the BK came to Zero for questions in a polite way, but pretending soldiers B, the one pointing the gun at Zero. It's not the best, but try my best to fix it. See, that was a little better, but what they did was the lazy way. They wanted to change the scene up a little bit, but they didn't want to make a brand new scene. But it should have been a brand new scene. There shouldn't have. You can't make the Black Knights look like good people when they're pointing guns at Zero. I mean, how do you make that look non-threatening or peaceful? By having Cannon the one that delivers the final blow, but they're still pointing guns at him. It just doesn't work. Anya from Spy X Fan versus Tian in terms of who is more adorable. To clarify things, I don't mean mean to me. I know you don't mean mean to me. That's a hard question because the one thing about Anya from Spy X Family is that sometimes she has really strange expressions. They're supposed to be cute, but they're kind of creepy. I would say Tianzi is more adorable in general, but when Anya is being cute, she definitely is. So I'll say as much. When Anya's being doing her thing, she's more adorable. But just in general, I would say Tianzi is more adorable is way more adorable. I think she's older too, by the way. Not that it matters. R1 should have been 2 films. R2 should have been an extra third film. That could have worked too. Like 3 hours. Why not? Or like I said, they should have had 4 films. 2 for R1, 2 for R2. And then you also can fix stuff, retcon things, whatever the hell you want. I feel it would be better if they made 5 or 6 films of it, and maybe 2 or even less 3 hours long. I mean, look, basically, with these compilation films, as far as I know, they were on no time frame to release these at any given time, so they could have done whatever they wanted to do. And Code Geass was, no offense, the popularity was pretty much dead at that point, so they could have done anything they wanted, and they chose literally the most lazy route possible. Have you read the script for episode 26? Lelouch wins the duel using the lance with the Board Charles battleship, but he lost to his Geass. So are you saying that's different than the one that I played through on Janissary Code, where neither one shot at each other and V2 got involved? So there's 2 stage 26? Okay. That's what I thought happened. Lelouch wins the duel, but I think in stage 26 they changed in the Janissary Code version. I can believe the coup since Japan has a sad history of violent uprising against their leaders pre-World War II. Different values and morals than Sohim being an enemy prince would be enough. But they don't know he's an enemy prince, though. That's the problem. There's no proof. Schneider just talks out of his ass, and they're like, yeah, he must be a prince. Like, it's one thing if there was evidence. That's the problem with Turn 19. That's the problem with this movie. No evidence is presented to back up these claims. It is all hearsay, and yet for some reason, it's accepted as fact. That's the problem with the scene to me. Especially when Tamaki is like, hey, where's the evidence? And Ogi's like, I got it for you. And we never see it. And the anime, when it's presented, it's not good evidence, but they accept it anyways. Sure. I mean, maybe that was not the motivation, not the motivation, what's the word? I guess like that's what they're referencing or referring to. But like, so what? Divine punishment, lovely. Making Dieter a double agent, planning a down BK might have worked. Yeah, that could have worked too. Yeah, I thought it mentioned. Yeah, I've read it before. I guess the Janissary Code version was different. Okay, let's continue on here. I'm done ranting about Turn 19, at least for now. It will come back, of course, at some point in the future. Okay, so Raul is dead, and the Black Knights have betrayed Lelouch. So now we move on to the next episode. We skipped a bunch of scenes. Specifically, Nina talked about the flight of Warhead with Suzaku and the crater, Ground Zero. Excuse me. We see Charles talking about the Sword of Akasha. They're activating it because we're about to go into the Ragnarok connection. By the way, here's something else too. It's kind of weird. And okay, last part to our team because it's actually kind of relevant. So Schneisel says that C2 gave Lelouch the Geass power, right? So you're probably thinking, oh, they must have arrested her from a room. They must have gone into the room and looked for C2 and arrest her because she's a co-conspirator. She gave Lelouch Geass power. No, they don't do that at all. I was actually curious if they changed the dialogue here to say, hey, where's C2? We got to find him. Or find her, sorry. But they don't mention that. So the Black Knights know that C2 is apparently evil, and they don't even go after her. It's like, guys, if you're going to stick to your story, stick to the story. Anyhow, so Anya comes in there, same conversation as before. She goes into her head. I believe she also has to bring the, what's it called? The cheese coon. They removed C2 walking this direction. I don't know why they got rid of her with her that outfit she wears when she's in C's World, the memory. I'm not sure why they changed that scene. I don't know. She runs into C2 as Marion. By the way, during the film, there's no scenes of C2 actually talking to Marion, telepathy-wise. So I guess they got rid of that whole subplot because it probably wasn't properly explained or timed, or maybe both. Look at this picture of C2. Not related to anything, we just want to bring that up. Also, there's a picture of C2 being stabbed by the nun. So I do find this interesting for one specific reason. The part of this movie that reflects Turn 15 in the Geass Order Massacre, where Lelouch goes to the Sword of Akasha and confronts his father, yada yada. They don't show C2's backstory, but they're kind of showing it right here. So most people probably didn't even notice. Same conversation as before. Nothing really brand new with this. God, I hate Marion. They go again, the same conversation. C2 goes, she wants to grab her cheese coon. And again, no one wants to arrest C2 at all, even though they know she gave Lelouch Geass power. I don't know. I guess they conveniently forgot that part. Something else too. Did I skip that scene? There's actually a part where I think Lelouch tells Colin to take care of C2 when he's in the Shinkiro. I think it's later on. I don't think it was in the original anime. Anyhow, so Anya's on the Ikaruga, same conversation before. Apparently Cornelia can't punish Valletta. Again, do these two look alike? I mean, maybe I'm blind, but these two look nothing alike. Anyways, yeah, fame is everything. Okay, this part. Okay, I guess we have to mention what we're thinking about Turn 19. I'm telling you, it's the gift that keeps on coming. So this is a scene where Dieter talks about how they want to say that Lelouch Zero was killed in the battle. Even though there's there's no proof of that, or it didn't actually happen, rather. But here's the part that always makes you laugh. She's like, you want to tell me about the Geass power? And he's like, no, they think we were insane. And I'm like, correction. You should have thought Schneisel was insane. Because what evidence do you guys have that Geass even exists? You have nothing. You should think Schneisel was crazy. This conversation between these two characters is literally proof why Turn 19 was a failure like the moment they wrote it. Why would you include this conversation? You literally just played yourself by implying that, yeah, people think you're crazy. That's right. You should have thought he was crazy. You had no evidence to suggest otherwise. Oh, holy crap. And then this part two, he's a symbol. Without the Black Knights, he can never establish himself. Are you serious, D-Tard? He made the Black... Oh, my God. You were the guy that said its organization is built around Zero, not the other way around. Now you're saying it's the other way around. Oh, man, they really assassinated D-Tard. I mean, this was the first part when he couldn't tell these two characters. Oh my God! Like, there's okay. I think this is a scene where Lucy he's up in the submarine after talking to Rivals. I think here he says like Colin take care of scene 2. I don't know why they put that in there. Interesting enough, they mentioned the fireworks, so I guess it was like to do it the first time because they never launched fireworks at all in the movies. I don't know. They start the whole plan to get rid of God. Of course, it's not really explained. Hey, Monica, glad you're in this film. Damn you, Steisel. Has the truth dawned on you yet? It has not, by the way. So Millie reports that Zero has been killed. Again, there's like, man, that whole subplot was handled horribly. Anyways, this is a new scene they added where Ogi punches D-Tard in the face because he leaked that information without telling everyone else. This is important because in the anime, if you guys know, D-Tard has a mark on his face in the Ikaruga. They never explain what happened. Although he does say, he says, like, I think Ogi was like not reasonable or something. So he basically implied that he punched him in the face. But the film was like, hey, let's show you the scene because you were curious if Ogi actually punched D-Tard in the retard. And he did. So there's that. We have a new scene where Zaku leaves to go and take out Charles. So we don't have the scene where Zaku confronts basically everyone here, and also Cornelia and Schneisel about what happened to Guilford. We don't have Schneisel playing a coup. Instead, Zaku just goes on his own, which I believe it was Schneidel's decision, but they decided to cut that whole part out. He kills like the last of the druids, even though I thought they were dead from before, but whatever. And then before he gets a chance to kill or try to kill Charles, he doesn't know he has Geass power. We have Bismarck comes in there and he's like, "You betrayed everyone." Makes sense, because you're a traitor. In the anime, he says like, "Oh, you're not the only one who has you're not the only one who knows about Geass." But in this story, they changed it where Bismarck reveals early on that he knows about Geass power, which I will admit that was a good change because he did. That was also a plot hole in the story. Before I continue on, let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, they don't have a scene. They skip the BK's mourning Zero's death. They skip Zaku agreeing to betray Charles. They skip the BK's talking about moving on from Zero. They skip Kage talking about negotiating with Schneisel. Instead of D-Tard mentioning how Ogi is defensive, Ogi instead asked me to open a channel to Britannia. Let's see. Schneisel changed his dialogue along with Zaku in context to Anya to where Anya's loyalties lie. All right, so that's later on in the story, but I think I'm caught up with the notes. Yeah, see here, he says me to say open a channel to Britannia. In the anime, he goes like, Ogi's very defensive. No offense, D-Tard, you deserve 6 more punches for being an idiot. I like your character, but god dang it, man, you can't be this stupid. So then during this confrontation, Lelouch comes in there to do his thing, which is great. Same speech as before, of course, and the troops are attacking each other. He asked everyone. Monica is, of course, confused because we'd all be confused, honestly, at this point. I believe eventually he runs away, Zaku. He nearly dies, and then Schneisel, or I should say Anya fights Bismarck, and it's a little misunderstanding there. Where's Anya's true loyalties lie? Yeah, so this is something interesting. They changed this dialogue. They changed it because Schneider didn't send Zaku to kill the Emperor, and they established second film that Anya was working under Charles, and the child knew of this. So basically, what this line. So I kind of mumbled that. Let me just explain that. So in this story, I believe I could be wrong that Schneider never sent Suzaku to go kill Charles. So instead, he thinks that Anya might be betraying everybody because he knows that Anya went to Common Island for Charles in the second film. That's why they changed the line here. I believe that's why they changed it. They don't have the epic part where all the Sarlins have like the lances. They got rid of that for some reason. I don't know. I thought that was kind of cool, but anyways. So we had this one part where Kaguya's talking to Schneider about what's going on. Again, if this meeting was even going to happen, why? You know, I don't even want to. I'm done talking about that for now. But you get the point. Like it's just we're having a second meeting, so clearly this was not a time sensitive event. Again, the rebels may have Geass because he knows about Geass. They changed that part of the dialogue. The two of them have their scuffle to being she's like a little actress. Is there C2 with Anya. Then Charles like, God, let's destroy them let's destroy everything and restart anew or whatever. Time to settle this. And Lucia's like, nah, you're not going to do that. I blew up the exit. We're stuck here now. We'll rot here for all time and space. Technically, Lucia will die first, but Suzaku wakes up and Anya was going to go color in his face. And I believe, she's Marion. Of course, Suzaku believes this because why not? The entire conversation here, as far as I know, is basically the same. They might have changed maybe a couple things based on a couple changes in the story, but basically it's the same conversation. Why they wanted to do this, to get rid of the masks, and I don't know, get rid of unconscious, bring the dead with the living. I believe even this is the same too. Yeah, and of course, C2 brings her in. When easier you giving your code to him. Oh my God, because Charles can hold 2 codes apparently. Who knew? All right, so then they both can't die. I believe this is all the same. Oh, another thing too they changed. This is actually kind of important. I mean, everything's relative, but when the Black Knights go to encounter Lelouch in the anime, Ogi's like, okay, you know why we're doing this, right? And Tomoki's like, yes, we have to make sure he's dead. And in this story, they don't have that scene. And my theory is because technically they have no real grounds to kill Zero at this point, especially since his betrayal. I mean, he didn't really. I guess he admitted to doing those things, but he didn't. I don't know what it was, but they didn't seem to have the real grounds to betray Lelouch because in this film, they don't even suggest killing him until right before the battle, the last great battle between the Black Knights with Schneisel against Lelouch as the Emperor and his Britannian forces. So my theory is that until that point, they had no real grounds to want to kill him. Or at least when they want to kill him at that point, it's more understandable because he actually has betrayed not only the Black Knights, but the whole world, I guess. And he's declared himself the enemy of the world. So I think that's why. Again, I could be wrong, but that's just my observation. And of course, Colin still wants to talk to him. My face when reading the script. All right, so we see Marion. Oh, you've grown so much, Lucian. He's freaked out, of course. You're alive? The biggest twist ever. I guess it was a big twist. I will now answer your questions. Basically, when we were younger, we were in hell. Everyone was trying to become in charge of the country. And of course, my mother died. We agreed to make a world with no lies. We formed the contract. Of course you did. And then, of course, V2 kills Marion, and she's their Geass on Anya, so she would live. So many things that are confusing about this. We'll move on. I'm not going to retread. You guys already know this stuff. C2 left after she learned about what was going on. Those poor kids, they were indoctrinating to the Geass order. Charles realized that V2 lied to him, and he waited until this time to go and kill him. This is not a new scene. This is Millie talking about what's going on. Nothing new there either. Again, it's just more of the same thing. This is Zaku and C2 talking about like regrets of what she was doing, how she basically betrayed Lelouch this whole time, and she's like, "Look, I'm immortal, okay? I'll find someone like Lelouch probably 100 years from now." I don't know. It was a weird expression. Basically, what he was saying is, I'm not really human. I lived a long time. I don't have regrets. I just exist. They go back into the C's world, and again, Charles goes over his whole plan, which whatever. Some of it makes sense, some of it does not. Yeah, so we talk about the two codes. I'm going through this really quickly because, again, you guys already know this stuff. And after this is completed, we get C2 and Suzaku coming in there. I'm pretty sure there's no change at this point. That's the other thing, too, that I didn't... C2 doesn't call Mario on the Flash, okay. It's good to see the Black Knight's going to kill Zero, right? I mentioned before. They cut Lucius' speech on lying and persona short. Oh yeah, when he talks to Charles, I forgot to mention like early on the episode, they cut out a lot of the discussion. I guess it's fine. You know, they were pressed for time. It's not a big deal. They also mentioned that Mario was talking to C2, but we never saw that in the films. Oh yeah, in this part here. So when C2 left. Hold on. During the whole what happened, the big reveal, he said that C2 left the order, and that she developed some kind of link to talk to Marion or something like that. Yeah, I could speak to C2's mind. However, in the films, this never actually happened, so they kind of forgot about that, but they cut the dialogue anyways. Okay. Anyways, anything else I miss? Let's see. They skip Bismarck talking to Schneider about the aftermath. There's a new song during the scene where Lelouch rejects the Radar connection. And yeah, the music there was bad too. Every time they add new music, it just completely falls flat and it's distracting, to put it lightly, just super distracting. This is the most offensive face, maybe in the entire story. I mean, this is Marion's thirsty face. Like, I'm excited about the Ragnarok actually happening, but my goodness, caption this, and you could think of the most depraved things. Marion looks like, I'm not going to say it, but I hate this depiction of her face. It's disgusting. I'll put that much. It's extremely uncomfortable and kind of gross. Okay, so the thing conversation before. Now, one thing I want to mention, there's not a particular scene where I'm going to stop at to bring this up, but when Lelouch used Geass on the collective unconsciousness to reject the plans and don't stop the hands of time, don't you think the creator of space, the guardian of space time, would be there? That girl with the Geass stuff from Akito Exiled. Now, in the original anime, Akito didn't exist yet, so her character didn't exist. But this film is supposed to comes after, well, not chronologically, but in actual release. It came after Akito Exiled. They referenced Akito with Rollo talking to Suzaku about what happened at the EU. So you would think that you would see the caretaker of space and time appear. Wouldn't that have been cool if Lelouch used Geass on her, or she just kind of, when Lelouch uses Geass on the collective consciousness or unconscious, the caretaker of space and time appears and kills Marion and Charles or something. Or she just comes in and explains stuff. I don't know. You don't have either in this situation. That would have been kind of cool. That's a big failure. You had expanded Geass lore, and you chose to basically do nothing with it. The reason why I give the original anime a pass on some levels because it was a rush story. They didn't know if it was going to be a big thing or not. They didn't know. I can understand they were rushed to get it out, but this was your makeup exam, your makeup paper, and you had more resources and all the time in the world. The more I think about it, it's kind of frustrating. All right, so Marion again is explaining about the you're all reunited with everyone you love, just as I thought, and again, it's the same crap. Ultimately, he's Geass on C's world to stop everything. And eventually they're all consumed by C's world, and that's the end of that. I believe when they're dead, or when they're gone, rather, they're not actually technically dead. Their souls are trapped in C's world, whatever the fudge that means. The man with an empty ideal has passed away. I believe this is brand new for the film. That's how Schneisel thinks of Charles. It's pretty funny. What do you plan to do now? You rejected Charles' plan. You chose to forward. They changed the dialogue here, which I kind of like, actually. In the original anime, I believe Suzaku just says, like, you killed Yuffie. And Suzaku is like, I'm sorry, Lelouch is like, so what? So here they're like, first and foremost, I need to verify something with the false king. That's Lelouch. And Lelouch says, oh, yeah? Then I need to ascertain something with the Night of Betrayal. I'm like, okay. I like that. That's actually, it's a small change in the story, but it's a welcome change. I definitely like that part. Okay, I believe, yeah. All right, now we get to a new scene where C2 calls Shirley, and I'm confirming it's now to be C2 because Lelouch is not aware that Shirley, Jeremiah, and C2 planned his resurrection, so it has to be C2. She's part of the swim team. I think we knew that already. So she gets a call, and I love this new scene, but this angle, my goodness, guys, thirsty as heck. So she's talking to some random person. She thinks it's, again, Lelouch, but it's not. It's actually C2 or Jeremiah, one of the two. I'm pretty sure it's C2, though. And she's talking to someone. It's not Lelouch, as far as I know. It's C2. Now, it's very possible that she was talking to nobody. I don't know. But there's one funny thing that's kind of sad at the same time, which is Shirley basically she loved Lelouch and wanted to help him out. But at the end of the day, he chooses C2 over her. So she gets cock-blocked by C2. It's kind of funny. It never comes up in the film, but it is kind of sad, actually. She gave all this for the guy she loved, and he didn't even want to be with her at the end. Oh, well. Anywho, after the month passed, as you guys know, Lelouch comes back and he uses Geass and everyone to acknowledge him as the Emperor. One of the most coolest, badass scenes in the entire story. Oh my God, no way! How could he still be alive? I mean, we didn't try killing him or anything, but Yes, sister, I escaped the bowels of hell. I love that line. It's great. Oh, we figured you were alive. We found Nunnally. You think you're taking a joke too far? Oh, shut the hell up, dude. Okay. So he uses Geass and everyone. It's a great scene. Suzaku becomes the Knight of Zero. This is still peak. It's an awesome scene. I believe. Yeah, so they skip Schneisel closing remarks and turn 21. It goes straight to Knights of the Round Rebellion, and then it shows Charles' flag burning and the statue collapsed. So basically, they decided to show this part first instead of after that conversation. When you see Lelouch and Suzaku by that area with the water and the horses, they decided to show that after the scene instead of before. I'm not sure why they did that way, but I guess it's fine. Suzaku basically kills everyone in the most epic way possible. One of his best scenes in the entire story, especially after he lives and kills everyone. It's good stuff. Then we see the flag burning, statues on the ground. They cut out weird stuff and move things around. I'm not sure why. They skip seeing Lelouch's family working as servants or soldiers. Odysseus was a soldier, and we see Catherine and what the hell is her name? Damn it! I hate my life. I'm gonna look at that really quick. Code Geass, royal family. I'm really mad. I thought I knew. When someone would see her name, I'm gonna scream it like 3, 2. Genevieve. Damn it! Genevieve. They were working as servants. They skip the Black Knights talking about Lelouch. They skip Lelouch and Geass on the soldiers to become his slaves. They skip the scene of Lloyd talking to Cecile about being cogs in the machine. Skip Nina mentioned that people were coming after her. For some reason, that was a subplot in the show that never went anywhere. They show the horse scene after the Knights of the Rebellion, Round Rebellion. I wrote CODER, which actually is the acronym for Knights of the Old Republic. Okay, now we're back to the scene here. So basically, everything's the same except they added a new part where, yeah. So this is part what I was saying earlier. During this conversation, Lelouch mentions that he sent Sayako out and she never came back. Instead of the original anime where she was with Nelly the whole time. They changed it, I guess, because it makes things better. Again, I don't know. Nina joins them. She mentions how Schneisel's got a little crazy with the Flea warheads, so they have to go and deal with that. And Zaku's like, I hoped he was going to succeed Charles. To basically, he explains why he went after Charles. He didn't go because Schneisel told him to. He went because of this reason. He thought he would balance things out. And Lloyd's like, who knew he'd be a crazy man? Well, you and Lloyd, you've known. It's funny because Lloyd has known Schneisel since they were, I think, in high school. There's a picture drama where it shows Schneisel whipping Cannon and Lloyd's in the background. So Lloyd's known Charles, I'm sorry, this is Schneisel a very long time. So if anyone would have suspected it, it would have been Lloyd. But hey, who knows? Like LC2's like, are we done now? And I'm like, no, we just started. Yeah, see, Saigo went dark after I sent her to Cambodia. So she never rescued Nunnally in turn 18. Okay, we get a new scene of Lelouch landing to say he's join the UFN. The scene exists because after Suzaku takes out the Knights of the Round in the original anime, there's a scene where Lelouch calls and says, hey, you guys watch that performance. So now I'm going to go and now and apply to the UFN. But they had to change that scene because it wasn't being broadcast to the world. So they had to put it here. I don't know. Some of the decisions to remove and add stuff doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Okay. Yeah, so in this version, Saiko was never with Nelly. When she was captured, it was instead Lelouch sent her to Cambodia, and that's where she goes dark. The new scene of Shirley Ming with C2 for the first time. And here it is. I assume this is part of the plan to save Lelouch in the future. Of course, it's kind of messed up because she makes a deal with the girl that takes her boyfriend away. But hey, whatever, it's fine. Is the site designated for Lelouch to come back? We see Millie. I think she's actually talking about Lelouch before she went on the air, which was kind of funny because she forgot that she was being filmed for a couple seconds there, or she on television rather. Lelouch lands. I believe Nina saves him from being beaten up from the guard, I think. Or maybe they removed that part. Yeah, they actually removed that scene. They removed the whole subplot of Nina and Rivel running away for some reason. So during the conversation between Colin and Lelouch, while they're in the clubhouse room here, they had to alter it because there was a certain part in stage 25 where Ogi tells Colin, go save Zero, he'll make your brother's dreams come true. But they removed that part from the movie. So they can't have Colin reference something that never happened. So instead, what happens is she talks about the Black Knights are confused about his intentions, and are you using us? Were you manipulated by Schneisel? They don't know, which is kind of strange how that doesn't make any sense, but they had to alter her dialogue because it can't be it can't be that one because it never happened. She, of course, same scenes before. She says, after everything we've been through, what am I to you? You told me to live. Lelouch ignores her because you got to keep the kayfabe. They kiss, and then she walks away, and they both say goodbye to each other. You still see Arthur sleeping. So relaxing. So they changed this scene, by the way. This is one of the first scenes of many where they alter the Black Knight's understanding of Geass. Because basically, their plan here was to lock away Zero. See, they're hiding his identity in the Geass part. They were just going to lock him permanently. They weren't going to negotiate with him or anything like that because they know how Geass works. So they figure, hey, if he's in prison, it might be the right solution. Also, if you remember in the anime, when Lucius walking with Colin, you see Chiba talking to a bunch of people, the Black Knights, and they were saying, hey, if it's suspected that Colin has been, Lucius, Geass, and Colin will snipe her out. Plus, we have anti-Geass goggles. And again, the reason why they removed that is because the Black Knights don't know anything about Geass power. They wouldn't know how to stop it because there's no evidence presented that tells them how it works. So at least in the films are like, you know what? There's no evidence of Geass, so we're not going to pretend like there is. So they don't act like it. This whole lockup plan had nothing to do with anti-Geass. It was just to keep him, to keep him. What's the purpose? To seal him up and still use it as a symbol of freedom. That was the plan. But Suzaku ruins it and then forces him to sign. And of course she's like, Suzaku, you're a demon. Okay, right. They changed the whole scene here. So basically, in the original anime, Suzaku and Lelouch talk about the Geass or the flame being used on Pendragon. In this case, it's completely changed. Tommy's like, what's going on? This is our weird part too. So Cecile talks about the fortress Damocles, but I believe she says more in this than she did in the anime because Lelouch has to say something else that they wanted to alter because the best way I can explain this is that they had to cut out a scene where Lelouch says something. So to make sure he says to make sure all the dialogue, okay, let me try one more time. It's a little complicated, but they cut out some parts of these events from the anime, but they still want all the dialogue said to be part of these scenes. So to basically say the same thing in less time, they had to have Cecile say more things and then have Lelouch and then get Lelouch caught up to what he was supposed to say. If that makes any sense. It's really weird. I think I might have written something that might have made it more. I might have written something here that makes this make more sense. What I just say explains it. There we go. Okay. So Zaku appears in the Lancelot Chronicle and the Fiend. Tommy expressed being confused by all this, like I mentioned, because they didn't have the UFN vote. They just captured the representatives. They skipped the need a rescue part. Okay, so Cecile adds, the Damocles was built by the Tunnel Agency. In the anime, she stops after describing how large it is. They did this so Lelouch has time in the next scene to say both it would be a good place to store the flares and he hoped to stop Schneider before he made his move. The change exists because they changed the story where Tommy discusses the Pendragon destruction and not Lelouch. Because when Lelouch talked about the Pendragon's destruction, he mentioned about the Tunnel Agency and the flares and all that stuff. But because they had Tommy discuss they had Tommy discuss this, so they had to reorder things around. Okay, hope that made sense. That was 3 ways to describe the same event. They skipped a part of showing the UFN representatives before Lelouch leaves the building. Here's another one. This is kind of weird. During the conversation with Suzaku and Lelouch at this time, or should I say with Schneizel, he brings in Nunnally. And instead of Nunnally saying you're my enemies, she says I'm the one true empress. And I'm thinking, the fudge? Where did that come from? Nunnally never came across as someone who was ever power hungry in the Code Geass universe. Maybe I'm wrong, but I was like, wait, what did you just say? You're the one true empress? Okay, I don't recall you ever being a power hungry individual, but all right. Hey, look, they changed her character. We didn't know much about Nunnally's intentions, I guess, outside of wanting the world to be a kinder place. But apparently, in the film, she's the one true empress. In the anime, she just said, you're my enemies. Doesn't that make more sense? Enemies, like I'm the one true empress. I never got the impression Nunnally was ever power hungry in the story, but that's just me, I suppose. I got the impression you wanted to stop Suzaku and Lelouch, but I never got the impression that she was evil in that regard. I have no idea, but that's where they start off the next. That's where they end that whole big reveal. Okay, then we get into turn 22, or the event that turn 23. Here's what they skip. They skip Suzaku flying the Lancelot and the opening shot of destruction of Pendragon. They skip Cornelia asking Schneider to have a word with him. When they discuss so basically here. So Saiko comes back and says, she escaped Cambodia and she wants to talk about what's going on. Again, they change the story about her. They change her backstory. Nunnally and Nunnally and Lelouch have a similar back and forth. When that is completed, so we don't see Schneizel, Cornelia telling Schneizel, "Hey, I want to have a word with you." That never happens in this movie for some reason. Lelouch is still angry with what happened. Yes, they're talking about my sake. He's like, your sake? Yeah, not really. I see you, my little sister, as presumptuous as ever. It's a good scene. He did a good job keeping kayfabe. So after the fact here, yeah, this was it. After the fact here, yeah, she never asked Schneisel to meet up at all. But now we'll have to use them on the people, on Big Brother, right? If they stand in the way of peace, we will. So they, for some reason, got rid of that whole scene. And then she still wants to use the Flare Warhead. Whatever. He's still pissed off what happened. He's like, C2, can't you find Nunnally? And I'm like, no, I can only find people connected to Geass. And then, by the way, they cut that out of this scene because, in case you guys didn't realize it, but Nunnally is connected to Geass. She was touched by Charles. So yeah, C2 probably should be able to detect her because she was touched by Geass, right? And also an immortal too, from that regard. Several, in fact. V2 at one point, and of course, I guess not Charles, but definitely V2. So no matter how you look at it, C2 should have been able to find Nunnally, given that she does have a connection to Geass. I noticed they removed that line from the scene. I want to make sure I didn't get that wrong. Yeah, they removed that part because C2 said, like, I only can locate people who are connected to Geass or something. I'm like, well, Nunnally is. So they must have removed it for that reason. They skip Cecile talking to Lloyd and Nina about Schneider doing the weapons without the limiter for some reason. They still have Can express the deal with the Black Knights will work with Schneisel if he kills Lelouch, which happens right here. I think it was, yeah, here. And yeah. And by the way, this scene works because at this point, they do have justification to kill Lelouch. Or at the very least, the Black Knights were like, listen, we tried to talk to him with guns pointing to his face. He said no. We were willing to talk to him again. Then he becomes evil emperor. He takes everyone hostage. Okay, now we're going to kill him. You know, all bets are off. At least at this point, it's like, okay, they tried to talk to him. Then they decided to kill him. In the original anime, it's like, we have no evidence, and we're going to act on it to go and kill Lelouch. At least here, it's like, it was progressive. So I appreciate that. It progressively decided to go do it as opposed to like just one sitting. Cornelia still talks to Schneisel about like why his plans are awful, and he still tries to shoot her. Nothing there has changed. Cornelia is 180 in the show, just like in the original anime, comes out of absolutely nowhere. I mean, I love the fact that she decides to go against Schneisel. I think that was a great thing for her arc. But it's like she had almost nothing to do in the original and R2 originally, and the film cut even that part out. Like the scene where she said she gave everything. Well, V2 said it, but the same difference. She gave everything for Yuffie to try to clear her name. Like that subplot was never even in this movie. I don't know, just like Dalton Sons. No offense to Cornelia, but you could have cut her out of this film, and it would have been probably the same experience for the most part. Okay, so here's another thing too. So we have Psycho talking to Jeremiah about what happened, and again, you can retcon this and have the Glendonites save them. She could have even said right here, easy fix. All she had to say was when the plane was starting to fly, it was the decoy, and our plane was captured, or not my. I wasn't on it, but I saw a red nightmare frame grab the Nunnally shuttle and take it away. I couldn't pursue them, but I saw the nightmare frame take her away. That's all she had to say. Like, you could just change the dialogue, guys. Oh my god. But instead they just ignore it. Again, like, I don't know. The retcons are just insane here. Or maybe the lack of retcons, I should say. Okay, so then this conversation is basically about the same. I think they cut off one part of this. Let's see. Let's get the part where C2 enters the room with Lelouch and instead show the globe from that montage shown later on for some reason. Lelouch, they added the power of the king responsibility part to Lelouch's speech. So when he talks to her, he mentions how it's this here. I think that's a brand new dialogue, I believe. Let me make sure I get that right or wrong, rather. Yeah, that's right. They skip all the montage scenes, by the way. You know how when you see Tom screaming at a bunch of children, you see Chiba smiling at Toto in a very creepy manner because she loves him, but she doesn't know how to express herself, so she picks the most awkward face you could have. or where Cecile is eating, or Nina's eating Cecile's weird food. All that stuff is gone. Gone. I don't know. They could have kept at least the scene where Ogie is with Valletta and she's pregnant. They could have at least kept that scene. I guess, but I guess not, though, right? Okay. So the confrontation between the Black Knights and Britannian forces is basically around the same. The reasoning for fighting it because everyone's pinned down at one location, so whoever wins this battle basically wins the whole thing. That's how war totally works. And then Lelouch gives the epic speech like he did before, but for some reason they skip out Schneidsel's speech. And I thought Schneidsel's speech was a good contrast to Lelouch's, but for some reason they just don't include that. Okay. Also, when they talk about Anya, I think it's this. Yeah. So this is so strange to me. Schneidel says that I'm going to cure Anya of her memory lapse that was caused by Geass. He promised her if she joined up. How is he going to do that? Last I checked, he doesn't have a Geass canceller. Only Jeremiah can do such a thing. So he basically lied to her. Well, whatever. Schneider's always been a manipulative asshole. Nothing's changed there. So, okay. So the battle goes around the same. Lelouch, again, threatens everyone with the hostages. And Shinkei's like, listen, the flare warheads are a problem. I think he says earlier, but we got to deal with Lelouch first, of course. Man with a nuke, several nukes, or the emperor of the world. I mean, look, they're both serious threats, but like, okay, I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one who thinks differently. But yeah, he captured the hostages. Shaz was like, fine, whatever. But if the Black Knights don't want me to use the flare warhead, then I will have to use you guys. So that's what happens. He takes control of them. That was part of his plan, anyways. And then we have like this whole, back and forth where they're all, sending troops in, sending them out, sending them in, the whole chess game happening. They didn't change too much with this, and Tomoki's like, what's going on? No one's fighting. Oh, God, Tomoki. There is a fight. It's between two masters, dude. Because they're sending troops back and forth. We see Nina working on the countermeasure. I believe there was something else I was going to mention. What was it? Oh, yeah, that's not too much later. So it's the same basic fight. They're getting slaughtered because he literally sends like Shinkei, Zangetsu, and of course the Saito 8 elements. I mean, you can't really fight against that no matter how powerful your forces are. For the most part, I don't think you can really fight against. Yeah, they're being destroyed. They tried different strategies here, and ultimately they used the one where they destroy the Sakura in the Mount Fuji. But before that, though, we see the Ikaruga firing the Hadra cannons. Now, what frustrates me about this scene is that in the original anime, we see it used in the Chinese Federation, so we're familiar how it works. But if you just watch these films for the first time and you've never seen the original anime, which I'm sure is like 1% of people watch the movies, this scene has no context. Like, oh, it randomly has Hadra cannons applied to it? Sure it does. We never saw that before, but I'll take your word for it. I mean, Rockshot literally talks about how, hey, I took the Gawain systems and installed it to the Ikaruga. That was literally a conversation that happened. So they at least explained how this happened. But otherwise, you're like, what the fudge? It's a minor nitpick, but it really pissed me off. Like many things in this movie. So then as far as the Scurodite, it kills a lot of the forces. Again, nothing really new here. If only me would die. I was so careless. How could he sacrifice all of his troops? Oh my God, really? Okay. So they send their forces. I believe nothing new here. I'll make sure. Oh, actually, there's a couple of things that you might not new, but removals. Let's see. They left out turn 23 at 8:39. Oh, sorry, that's where I left. Never mind. Ignore that. Skip Detail and Schneider gloating. Yeah, about like when the Hadra cannon was fired. Skip Detail thinking about what he said to Valletta. Skip Lelouch thinking about Nina working with the flag countermeasure. Skip everyone evacuating the Ikaruga. Skip Schneider discussing using the flag with Shinkei. Skip Rivel and Millie. They changed what Lelouch says to Nina. Instead of just saying, I was Yuffie's murderer, he instead says, we were both in the student council. I never acknowledged you, but Yuffie did, and I killed her. That's a later on, but they skipped a lot of stuff. They're trying to fire, they're forcing to fire Damocles. That's the whole strategy at this point, to give Nina enough time to do her thing. Tamaki and Colin save Ogi and the Ikaruga. And then we see more flares being fired. Again, this is just the besides the thing I mentioned, it's all the same. Yep, the Demoku was built for air superiority. Suzaku tried to break in there, but he couldn't, so he needed the Chancellor. That's what was the plan at this point. Massive Force on the Avalon, yeah, because they were going to go in there. Their last ditch effort was to fly in there, and the Chancellor would take out the flare while it's launched, and then he'll use the Shinkiro to basically prevent the Democles from closing up the shields. That was the plan. Nothing changed here. Of course, Suzaku takes out the trash, nearly kills Shinkei, and then stops Toto. Again, no change in this part. This is all the same from the last battle. They're going over because Shinkei shot their engine. Then they board. He did very well. And Chao's like, I should kill the Black Knights. Nah, that's too ambitious. Funny man. Very funny man. I'm going to change my battery soon. I'll probably do that after I finished. But we'll see how far we get through this. Tommy gets destroyed by himself. No, by Suzaku. Yep, they try to board the ship. They're basically escaping at this point. Yeah. Right here, Little Black Knight. It's too ambitious. I should be greedy. So during this, I was talking about. So during the last conversation between Nina and Lelouch, they altered it because I don't know. Because I think it's because her relationship with Yuffie was much different. He was saying, "You're both on the student council. I never yet acknowledged you, but Yuffie did, and then Zero took her away from you. I can't forgive Zero, but separate from that, it's something I had to do myself." And they changed that because, again, the relationship between Yuffie and Nina was different. Her motivations were different. So they had to alter that conversation because otherwise it wouldn't have made any sense. I want to see, did I actually say what, yeah, so Lelouch originally just said, like, I'm Yuffie's murderer. Instead he mentions the student council and never acknowledged you, and I killed Yuffie. So basically, this was about being acknowledged. That's when Nina was angry, because Yuffie acknowledged her, and I guess no one student council ever did. I don't know. Considering how much they skipped in the story, I never got that impression at all. You know, if they showed hypothetically that Shirley and Millie went on a trip to the tower and they told Nina you can't come, okay, that might have supported this claim, but it came out of literally nowhere. This confrontation is basically the same as the original anime. They made one key change I noticed. When Colin goes to fight Lelouch, when C2 is fighting him, she doesn't tell him to come back. And Lelouch doesn't say, I promise you I'll come back. And I think the reason why, and I could be wrong, is because as much as I love that particular scene, and I think it's very emotional between the two characters, since they're both working the Zero Requiem, they know Lelouch is not coming back. He will die at the end of this event. So for her to tell him, please come back, and him to tell her, I promise I will, is kind of strange because they both know that's not going to happen. And I'm not sure if Colin can hear this or not, so maybe they were doing it to confuse Colin. I mean, obviously the purpose was to confuse the audience, to think, oh, he's going to come back and, they're going to be together and have, beautiful brown and green hair babies. But the thing is, but the thing is though, that was never going to happen. So while it's a nice scene and it helps confuse the audience for the big plot twist at the end, it ultimately makes no sense why she would tell him to come back and he would promise it when they both know that's not going to happen. Because he planned to die from the moment they started this whole thing. So unless I'm wrong, that's just me though. Okay, so again, everything here I believe is basically the same. Okay, so the music from this part, they played from one of the endings of the credits. And again, the songs they picked in the scenes, they ruined every goddamn thing. And like, this is emotionally epic scene when they use the Chancellor to break in, stop the flay in its tracks and then break into the Democles. But during this scene, though, like, they play this really strange music. Not strange, but bad timing of the music. It's one of the ending songs. I don't know why they played it. It ruined the whole damn scene. But anyways, they get in. I didn't expect to make a toy like that. Well, Schneizel, you were wrong. Poor Nightmare Frame, this guy here, he doesn't live. Zaku destroys the whole thing. And Schneizel goes from like, this is what I love Schneizel's character sometimes. Like, he changes his expression from like, I mean, it's great. And within a dime, he switches his feelings. They skipped showing Nina saying that Lucian Zaku did it while we see the face of both. It's a minor change. They removed Zaku saying the Damocles gets too high, he can't stop it. They removed the scene of the Tristan Divider being built. I'm kind of mad about that. Whatever. So instead, we just see it in action, which is okay. I mean, look, it's freaking awesome. Okay, don't get me wrong, but it would have been cool if we actually saw it being built. I thought it was a cool scene, but whatever. Before that, though, we see the High Grail in action. I got a picture of it right here. This is why I was referencing Oz's reflection being referenced in the story. Like, if you're going to have the High Grail here, just more, like, you can't just pick and choose, guys. Have all the references or no references. I don't know. They skipped the references to the chess match that never happened when Lelouch starts talking to Schneizel and the Black Knights. So basically, when they have their confrontation at the end here, by the way, all is exactly the same as before. How they can rebuild the same Flea as long as Lelouch is in charge. We'll get someone to do it. Isn't that basic terrorism? Never mind, sir. I'll follow you to the end. And D-Tart is here for some reason. I'm not sure why. Peace or single life. They're not equal, obviously. In his mind, anyways. Nellie opens her eyes, is able to see and gets the key. We see Jeremiah fighting against Anya, and then we also see Colin take out the trash. And we get this nice scene where she says she loves Lelouch, or she might. I believe it's the same conversation. And then Colin's nihilistic and it's like, it doesn't even matter. And she leaves. So C2 is feeling alive for once. Yeah, I think would be the right way to put it. To Nelly again, she, right here, nice little foreshadowing where she literally looks at the flake. She's literally looking at the key. It's kind of, I like that. It's very quick and easy to miss, but she actually looks at the key right here. So then we have this nice little flex where Lelouch talks to Schneizel. One thing they changed in this particular scene is, one, they don't mention the chess game, and two, instead of Lelouch playing one video, he plays a bunch in response to what Schneizel says, which actually makes it more believable that he predicted his thoughts by having multiple tapes or DVDs or however he made his recordings to anticipate Schneizel's moves. They also made Schneizel say less things, so it was more believable, I suppose. I never had too many issues, by the way, with the whole him recording possible responses to what Schneizel was going to say. I will admit, it's very far-fetched and probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it never really bothered me, considering there were bigger fish to fry, if you will. Okay, so we see Shinkei taking over. In House of Seal, Lloyd and Sayako say everyone. Again, nothing new from the original anime. There's Valletta talking to Claudio, who should have married her and not Ogi. Just my opinion. And look who's back. It's Guilford. Now, here's the part I don't like. She says here, you'll still insist on calling me Princess Cornelia. But here's the problem. They never said in the story she was no longer a princess, because we don't have that whole subplot where she goes. We have where she goes to Geass Order, but we don't get enough of it. So we don't get the part where V2 literally says, hey, you gave up your claim to the throne to declare Yuffie's name. So this line has no meaning because it's never happened. She is still technically a princess in this universe. There is no there's no scene in this film or any of them where she gives up her right to the throne. So you put it in there, I guess, to imply she did, but there's no reason behind it. So talk about ruining Cornelia's character even more. Like, geez. So frustrating. Yeah, because we don't have that part. So I don't know. Whatever. They skip the conversation between Schneider and Lelouch when they go straight to the part where Lelouch states he sees the future. Yeah, they cut off part of this conversation. And they go back and forth. And eventually he gives him the gift of Geass. And he says, damn it, why didn't I realize it? Well, Dieter, let's be honest for a moment. You couldn't even figure out that Valletta, that Cornelia was... you thought Cornelia might be Valletta from the back. So, no offense, dude, but you're not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed. I mean, I'm trying to make a meme where it's like two pictures of Valletta's back and Cornelia's back, and then Dieter's like, it's the same person. Because, oh my God. How can you be this dumb? So, honestly, Dieter's a moron. He tries to shoot Lelouch, and Shiloh shoots him instead. And he's like, please, use your Geass on me. You're not worth it, Detard. Maybe if you could tell the difference between Valletta and Cornelia, I would use it on you. Also, you backpedal on your own beliefs. First you said the Black Knights were based around me. Then you said then you said it was the other way around. A man who can't keep his convictions doesn't deserve my Geass power. And the Detard died. And not an F was given. I believe anything else I missed. Let's see. They skip Schneisel explained not only the Damocles key. Right. So after Lelouch used Geass on Schneisel, he's like, we have to go and stop the Damocles, whatever, and stop the countdown. And Schneisel's like, understood. But not only has the Damocles key, so they skipped that little line there. I don't know why. The song they played during Nellie's reveal is awful. Yeah, it's pretty bad. We see Gino, and he's fighting Suzaku. And of course, he gets his butt handed to him, just like that. Slice and dice. But he's able to destroy the generator for the Luminous Blaze system, and Colin breaks in to have her final confrontation against Suzaku. And they play a song here, and it's so bad. Oh. All the music in this film is just insanely offensive. And I mean that in the friendliest sort of way. Insanely offensive. We see more the same discussion about how I used Geass, Lelouch used Geass, I used the Flea. You're obviously worse because you ruined people's dignity. I'm just nuking, thousands of people at a time. Who cares? You ruined people's dignity. If you use your Geass on me, and Lelouch is thinking, do you know how that works? No, but I mean theoretically. Oh my God. Okay, so then we have this confrontation between Talon and Suzaku, of course. It's the last one. We have Anya fighting Jeremiah, which, it's a good fight. One that they removed in this, and I don't know why. So if you guys remember at the end of the last episode, Final Turn, there's a long ongoing conversation that happens between all the characters. Basically, it's one long sentence. Each character says a part that completes it as they go on. Like Tianti's like, why do we have to fight? And Shinkei's like, I fight because I have something to protect. Or Toto's like, if you don't, forgot what, some kind of method of an aggressor, you are like easily responsible. And then, Chiba's like, well, don't do this. And Toto's like, how dare you? They got rid of all that scene, by the way, which is why, nothing, any scene that shows Chiba might be in love with Toto, F that. We can't show that in this movie. But they got rid of that entire back and forth. I like that. I like any part in any anime period, not just Code Geass, where you have a long sentence. Each character like adds and completes the whole thought train. I like that, but whatever. They got rid of it for some reason. Again, no one knows how Geass parts work in the show. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention there's an earlier scene where Toto's like, he says, it's so sad I have to kill people who are, cursed by Geass or something. I'm like, you don't even know how Geass works, man. How do you know he used Geass on his own troops? He never knew that in the original anime, and the films, they literally said that they don't know how Geass works. So I'm like, dude, you guys are doing so well in this movie. You removed every single reference where the Black Knights act as if they knew how Geass worked because they didn't. But you keep that one reference in there. I think they must have forgotten about it. That's my only opinion. Okay, I'm going to, real quick, I'm going to change my camera. I'm sorry, my battery. not my camera. All right, we'll just do that real quick because it's about. Okay, we should be back to where we were. Okay. All right. We should have seen the people leaving the area. Rebel's talking to Millie. It's good the majority of the conversation between everyone else. I mentioned that before. The whole like back and forth. They don't show. This is funny. They show Ogi driving with no context. He actually says something during the scene, but they removed it for some reason. I don't know. But they kept C2's conversation about how she's seen over again about what mankind has done. So they kept some people's conversation, but they removed most of it. I don't know. It's during the scene, by the way, where she's like, the Democles will be a source of everyone's hatred. And Lucia's like, just like me. Geass power, go. Give me the key. And she's like, here you go. And meanwhile, I believe Jeremiah takes out Anya, and then Zaku and Colin finish their confrontation, which was very epic. Not as epic as Akito versus Shin Hyuga, but still pretty epic. That angle, though. I like how this fight went from using their Nightmare Frame's most advanced weaponry to just like base form both of them. It's pretty cool. And then Colin's like, no, you got me all right. He blows up. Her Nightmare Frame also blows up, but Gino catches her. You won, Colin. And she's freaking exhausted from that battle. There's the key. Lelouch fires the flare and becomes in charge of everything. No way. I believe Chiba is holding Toto's hands during this scene. But, like, why couldn't you show our scene between the two of them? Everyone now follows Lelouch. He's now, in charge of the world. All hail Lelouch. I don't think anything skipped here. Let's see. The song user was not great. Very true. They skip Lelouch saying goodbye to Nelly. Yeah, that kind of frustrated me. So after he used Geass on her, he says like a whole thing about how you've grown up really. I'm so proud of you. You're your own person, and I love you. And goodbye. And they just skipped that from the scene. Like, why? Why would you skip that scene? Oh, whoopsies. My background still. Let me change that real quick. And let me put the there we go. Okay. My bad. But why would you remove that? That was a great, that's one of his best moments in the entire story when he tells Nelly before the Geass power goes away, or the effect wears off. He tells her, you've grown up a lot, and I love you, and that was a great setup. But they got rid of it for some reason. That really pissed me off. You could have the extra 10 seconds in there, really, guys? Okay. The song they used in the last part of Zaku and Colin's fight was used in a montage before the battle in turn 23. Yeah, and instead they put the original song, which was much better. Basically, during this confrontation, they used so that music they played during that montage when again Tamaki is screaming at the kids and Chiba is looking at Ogi and a really weird smile and not Ogi, I'm sorry, Toto. And Ogi approaches Valletta. There's a montage song playing. They played that during this fight instead of the actual battle music, which was infinitely better. I don't know why I did that. Whatever. Anyways, We skipped Kagi talking to C2 for some reason. I'd like that too. They showed Shirley watching the announcement. I don't think I have the image, but they showed her watching it. I think I have it in my folder, but not. Let's see. Yeah, she's right here. See, she's watching the announcement. Anyways, all hail Lelouch, all hail Lelouch, and then everything. Again, it's basically what you guys remember. Nothing really. And again, Shinkei's alive, by the way. So I think he was over. He's on this side. So he's still not dead, but apparently he dies. Whatever. Again, nothing here is brand new. Lelouch is in charge of everything, just like before. Oh, hail Lelouch. Glory, my asshole. But there's a nice photo of Shirley's family. So here's this one. Her father doesn't die, obviously, in this universe, and there's the mother. They're watching this whole thing. Again, it's the same. All right, it's very the same. You had to spay Lelouch when you did. People in science, by the way, Cecile did say that. Then, of course, Nina asked about like Lloyd and Rakshata, and she's like, it never went anywhere. Eventually, Vallejo's gonna go out there, and Cornelia's like, yeah, don't do that. We're not, we need our forces. We gotta wait for the right moment to go in there. But then we have Zaku appear as Zero. Same basic scene. They changed. They added something. They changed two parts of this scene. The first one is when he runs. They added this. Now I use it for my thumbnail, by the way. This. They show him like gliding up, and they zoomed in on his body. And I don't know why they did that exactly. I know everything in this film had some kind of purpose or reason, right? Like here's all the images of it. Here's the mask, here's the sword. I don't know why they zoomed in on this. It doesn't really. It's cool. I'll give it. It's cool looking, but I don't know what the significance of this was. And then when Jeremiah, he says like onward, Mask Knight in the anime. In the film, he says nothing. I don't know why he says nothing. That kind of also confused the hell out of me. Why wouldn't he say go onward, Mask Knight? It was obviously they planned all this. I don't know. I have no idea why they made that change. I'm pretty good at figuring out these changes. That one, I just don't have a freaking clue. We see Shirley going down like that because she wants to see Lelouch get stabbed, even though she knows he's going to be revived anyways. I guess seeing him hurt still bothers him. Bothers her. Sorry. For some, I don't have any images of Lelouch being... Wait, what the hell? Well, I don't know images of Lelouch being stabbed. Stab. What happened to... What the hell? Did I delete my images? Oh, they're here, but why aren't they? Oh, I know what happened. I'm out of it. They are here. I missed whatever. Yeah, Onward Mask Knight doesn't get set. Here we go. I was like, what happened to all my images? Did I delete them? Again, sitting there from before. Restore the change of hatred. Let Zero live on with the Black Knights. It's a symbol. Geass is kind of like a wish. I'm going to wish on the whole world. And then Sita's like, for your wish, it's too high of a price. For some reason, Tianzi like gets emotional. Even the original anime, I never understood that. I mean, no offense. Tianzi had like no connection to Zero whatsoever. Yes, he captured her and they formed the UFN, but I never got the impression Tianzi felt anything towards Zero other than like some random dude who came into her life. I don't know. Maybe she's looking away because the violence grosses her out. I'm not sure. Either way, Lelouch gets stabbed. Stab. And there you go. One of the most emotional scenes in the entire story. It gets me every time. You'll live on wearing the mask as the hero of the people. You're no longer Zaku. You'll be Zero. And this sacrifice, and this is the Geass I put on you. And I solemnly accept this Geass power. Then he rips the sword out really fast. And Lelouch is like, oh, that did not feel good at all. He falls down like Jesus. When Nelly touches his hand, you don't see the flashback because I guess they want to imply she doesn't have those abilities. I don't know. And then he thinks about his whole life, how he destroyed and created a new world, and obviously the montage is much different because some events didn't occur. I'm not going to go through the whole montage in my video. I already did, but they changed it up. Just take my word for it. They changed the montage. Then we see everyone charge the people. Now that Lelouch is dead, Colin is crying because she still loves him. What Ellie says always bothers me. Like, how can I face the future without you? I don't know why, but like, it always gets me every time I watch this scene because it's a very interesting not interesting, it's just a very emotional. How like not just wanted to be with you, he just wanted to be with Lelouch rather, and how am I supposed to go roll without you? I mean, it's tough, man. One day your brother stood, the next day he's the world dictator. How do you handle that? You just don't know. They changed the photos a little bit. Just one. Lelouch is looking this direction. I'm not sure what the change is. I guess maybe it might be kind of. I saw made a joke. Maybe my stream or Reddit, I forgot which, where it's like, isn't it kind of weird that Colin has a picture of the world dictator on her pegboard? So maybe this way she can have a photo of Lelouch and not be weird. Again, I don't know. That's just my quick nose. They skipped the part where Lelouch tells Zaku you have to kill me, and Zaku said you're going through with this. I'm not sure why they skipped that part when they're talking in the cathedral. I'm not sure why they changed that. They played the wrong song when Lelouch tells Zaku he'll be Zero. That comes after he dies. Yeah, again, the music choice in this movie was just awful. Different photo, Lelouch different. Okay, Shirley joins Colin. She doesn't sound upset that Lelouch is gone. She doesn't even say that he might want to see him again. Yeah, basically, when they're running together, and Shirley takes over narrating, she mentions how like the world's got plenty of problems. And she doesn't even mention about Lelouch. Like his plans worked out, but she didn't discuss him ever coming back to life. Okay, so then we see Millie. She's wearing a different outfit from the original anime. I don't know what the change is, and also I may mention this before, but I think I have a photo of it, right? I might have it. If I don't, I have another look source. I got so many photos of this film. She makes this weird expression. Yeah, this one here. I don't know what the significance of it was, but she just changes her eyes randomly. She goes like from here to go. I don't know why she does that in the movie, but she wears a different outfit too. Whatever. We see Nelly meeting Ogi. Again, nothing. Valletta is still pregnant. We still see the marriage that occurred between them two. We still see Jeremiah with Anya. We still see the Democles being destroyed. But we get this new thing. The music, by the way, here is okay. This ending credit, it's okay music. This goes on for quite a while. Okay, never mind. It's awful. Yeah, you know what? Never mind. I hate this song. And then we get to the last part where we see C2 on a donkey instead of C2 being on a carriage. She gets a letter from Australia that they want to go and obviously get Lelouch. And then she said, like, am I going to wait for all time or will you fulfill your promise that you'll smile one day? The weird part about this now that I think about it, so Lelouch and C2's last conversation where he says, I will, I'll come back and I'll fulfill your promise, and right for original anime was removed from these movies. So what promise is she talking about? I guess she said, I promise smile you never had when they were in C's world or sort of Akasha, but still it's kind of weird how they had her mention the promise, but I don't know. Anyways, that's how the film ends. And then it, of course, had like this little thing where it's like, next time, resurrection. Which is what we're going to talk about next week. Actually, it's a little less than a week because of the makeup stream. And yeah, that's the film in a nutshell. My whole thoughts about this movie, I think it's the best one of the three. Doesn't say a whole lot, unfortunately. It has a lot of random removals that was unnecessary. The music changes, it's awful. Stage turn 19, it's still a freaking disaster. Almost worse now than it was in the original anime because their cover up was terrible. I don't know, but overall, I did enjoy the movie. It's just hard. Some of the removals were just so strange to me. And there's that, don't steal this footage, guys. All right, while C2 is with her donkey, I'll read some comments. I'm not sure where we left off, to be honest. Let's see. Okay. Also, I'm surprised there's no Black Knight infighting among themselves after betraying Zero and became the third faction. Yeah, see, that is what I mentioned in my turn 19 rant, or well, that whole episode rant in that stream was like, okay, so after Lucius declared dead or they betray him, how come the Black Knights just accepted it outright? I forgot to mention, they don't even show Jeremiah. Remember when they're talking to Jeremiah and he's like, Lelouch is dead? And they're like, Zero is dead. He goes, can I see his body? Like, not now, Jeremiah. And I'm thinking, this is the same guy who got emotional about, Marion dying, how he felt about Clovis, and he's like totally cool with Zero being dead. Yeah, okay, I believe that. But yeah, you bring up a good point, because there should have been infighting. Some people, even Zero was dead, they still wouldn't either believe the higher upper management, or they go after them. It was too simplistic. I absolutely agree with that. Yeah, it's a fair point. No, I agree that they kind of messed that up. That would have been really cool, like a Sith Lord. A Sith Lord. I wish Monica and Dorf had larger roles. Yeah, I know. Dream on. Read Oz the Reflection if you want that. I can't believe Aqua and C2 only have one scene together in the entire show. There are so many ways I can see them interacting. Well, that's not true. They have a couple. There's a scene where C2 touches a Lancelot. They don't tell interact in that one directly. There's that scene. There's a scene where she touches him when the Special Military Zone Japan, but they don't have like a conversation like here. That's true. That's kind of weird, I know. Hey, you guys, you're gonna show me Zero's body? No. Well, why not? Because reasons. Jeremiah. Well then, with Kara's voice. Screw you guys, I'm switching sides. That's pretty funny. Screw you guys, I'm switching sides. Does Jeremiah even need to be there after he shows Geass? He could have done, nothing would have changed. In this situation, probably. I wish we got a new CM Suzaku join, or why he joined Lelouch. Him learning Schneisel cut a deal with the BKs would show he really had no power despite his rank, so he chose Lelouch. Yeah, that could have worked. Why not show the time between when they formed the Zero Requiem? Yeah, that could have definitely worked, though. Why not? I mean, again, this is your, as I said before, this is your makeup exam. This is your second draft of your story. You could do whatever you want, and you chose the lazy route for the most part. I would change C2 tells everything to Lelouch, his mom, Geass Order V2, and maybe even the Order Geass. Then after Lelouch learned from C2, he's a mixture of sad and mad at C2 about everything, and maybe slaps her in anger. Yeah, I agree. To some extent, where basically C2 shouldn't have lied to Lelouch. She should have just outright told him everything, because she said she was not lying to him when she clearly was. What's frustrating about that whole situation is that they don't really ever address in the story. Like, we don't ever see Lelouch and C2 actually discuss like the whole fact that she lied to him this whole time. In the films, they have one scene where Lelouch is like, "You didn't tell me about Charles and V2," and she's like, "You never asked," and that's it. That's the whole conversation. Brilliant job, guys. But on a serious note, like, they should have had a heart-to-heart discussing this. It was so bizarre. After everything that happened in the Ragnarok connection, you would think at least one conversation he would tell C2, listen, I appreciate everything you've done for me, but why the hell did you lie to me this whole time? It never comes up. It's extremely frustrating. I guess the month time skip here is because the writers had to plan to insert an OVA the year before Lelouch took the throne. Well, they did a manga, but yeah. I like Tristan. It's stylish and heroic looking. It also has remnants of, I think, Voltron. It's really cool. No, the Tristan's a cool nightmare frame, especially the divider. Why do Monica and Dorothy's nightmare frames look like again? You have to read the manga, because they don't tell you in the anime or even the films either. And when I say manga, I mean Oz the Reflection. Also, the Tristan color scheme looks similar to a Mobile Suit Gundam. Yeah, I'd say more Voltron, but sure, for sure. What happened to Zaku's mother and Kaguya's parents? I have no clue. All we know is that basically when Zaku joined the Britannian military, they cut ties. Kage's parents, who the hell knows? Probably were killed off. What is Zelkstan doing during all this? Probably nothing, because they are, how do I put this? They're not doing too much. They're just, they're probably just, how do I put this? They're just doing their thing, making military weapons. They probably supplied to both sides during this battle. That's probably what they were doing. But it's a good question, though, because technically Lelouch was in charge of the whole world. I don't know. They weren't around. Who the heck knows? Look, that's the problem with anything. Like this is a completely separate topic, but the Eternals, that Marvel film that came out, was it this year or last year? A lot of people are asking, like, where were these people during Thanos when he was, or Thanos, sorry, when he was, he snapped half the population. He was, where were they? So that's the problem. When you introduce new concepts and characters that could have been relevant in a previous story, you have to ask yourself, like, where the hell were you guys? And the answer is, they didn't exist technically. So, Melody Wisher looks different. Am I wrong? I don't think so. I didn't see a difference, but maybe. It's funny, but had Schneisel had kept a few armed guards wearing those reflective glasses, they would have killed Lelouch and Zero, and they would have failed. Yeah, probably. But again, here's the important part. I think in the films and teleanime, it works well because they don't know how Geass power works. They never really did know. And if they just kept that narrative, then this line you mentioned wouldn't be relevant because they don't know how Geass works. In the films, at least they acknowledge that they don't know how Geass works. So they fixed that plot hole you mentioned in the films. In the anime, yeah, there's no excuse. I don't know. But from my point of view, though, how do I put this? In either version, they don't know how Geass works. Versus questions. Versus Colin, a fist fight. Lelouch's waifus. I think Colin wins in a fist fight. However, C2 can instant regen. So eventually C2 would win because Colin would get so tired from punching C2 in the face. She would keep instant regenerating her body, and she'd eventually beat the shit out of Colin. Only because she's exhausted. Colin is a better fighter, but she's only human, and C2 isn't human. That probably would win for waifus. Well, unfortunately, that's not really how the story went, but yeah. Code, can't you push her physical limits towards superhuman? I swear I read that somewhere. Possibly. Oh, maybe. Yeah, that's true. Adrian, welcome. If they had any updates, they could. I read online they removed Jeremiah's line because they were worried about the audience would think the Zero Reckoning was all his plan. Are you serious? Is that really why they did that? That sounds stupid, but so often I've seen people can't understand big things like it's a movie unless it's flat out spelled out for them. Are you serious? That can't be. That's why they removed it? Because they were concerned that people would think that was Jeremiah's plan. Oh my lord. I hope to God that's not the reason. That's insulting and stupid. Shirley's version is sweet. I agree. Instead of killing off Shirley in the middle of R2, I'd have Millie killed off on how the show's layer elements are fading away. Ooh, you know what? I like that. Even though I don't want Millie to die. I don't like Millie's character, but death is not necessary. The promise was for Lelouch to make C2 generally happy with life. True. And I guess they made that in the Sword of Akasha since they didn't have that conversation in the hangar. The whole movie timeline is kind of nuts for that kind of change. I read the recap films were theoretically released in Japan. I wonder if the audience liked them or not, or disappointed with the lack of new content. From what I understand, they were not well received. These films remind me of the old Looney Tune films, where majority of the running time was old cartoons combined about 20 minutes of new footage. That's a really good comparison, actually. It's amazing that the only time Lelouch lost it, lashed out, was against Rollo, and after he thought Nelly was dead, deep down he really hated his fake brother. Yeah, probably. Yeah, okay. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to end this stream, but I'm going to start our second stream right after this one. Because I'm going to do a little experiment. So I'm going to end this stream, and I'm going to start a new one. And the new stream, I'm going to play Janissary Code and also Lost Stories. So give me like 5 to 10 minutes. I'll have the other one up. So, all right, that's my thoughts on Glorification. I will, like I said, I'm going to end the stream. I'm going to start a new one in a couple of minutes. So I will see you guys then. So don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. New stream will be starting in a couple minutes.